Chapter 424. Luo Hongming didn't take the storage pouch and smiled. Steward Wang, there's no need for that. The Grand Elder has instructed that you're in charge of this trip. Just take it. Wang Daoyuan had no use for it, and it would only make others think about him. Since I'm in charge, then listen to me. Luo Hongming didn't refute and accepted the storage pouch. Wang Daoyuan used the water dragon technique and formed several foot-long water dragons that entered the spring water. He wanted to see if there were any treasures like spirit spring pearls, but he didn't find anything. It seemed that the spirit spring had scattered all its essence into the clouds. Seeing that he didn't find anything, everyone lost interest in the spirit spring. There was nothing on this level apart from the spirit spring and tea trees. There was no point in staying any longer. After finding a passageway that led downwards, everyone left. Dozens of breaths later, they arrived at a stone bridge. There were no clouds here. The stone bridge was more than 100 feet long and 3 feet wide. 2 to 3 feet below the stone bridge was a river of lava. The lava would occasionally bubble and spit out flames. The stone bridge was made of good material. The lava and flames couldn't burn it at all. There was a flight restriction formation here. Those below the golden core stage couldn't fly. If they wanted to cross, they could only cross this stone bridge. Wang Daoyuan looked at the stone bridge and smiled at Cultivator Tuesday. Daoyi too, you like to compete. I'll leave this opportunity to you. Cultivator 2 wasn't confident. The other side of the stone bridge should be the core area of True Monarch 100 Spirits abode. A peak Yuanian cultivator's abode even had a 4th grade magic treasure blocking the entrance. Now that they were in the core area, how could there be any lack of formations and restrictions? A Zifu realm cultivator was nothing more than a bug that could be crushed at any time in front of a Yuanian cultivator's methods. Who knew if True Monarch 100 Spirits' killing move was on the other side of the stone bridge? Everyone stared at the 2 cultivators from the Myriad Spirit sect. The Myriad Spirit sect liked to rear spirit beasts and spirit insects. If they couldn't bear to use spirit beasts, they could use spirit insects to scout the way. 1,000 Spirits sect disciple smiled awkwardly and said, although everyone in our 1,000 Spirits sect raises spirit beasts and spirit insects, most of us only raise one kind. Both of us are rearing spirit beasts, not spirit insects. The others did not dare to step forward. Wang Daoyuan did not want to continue wasting time. He released a dozen soul-chasing bees and had them fly along the stone bridge. The 1,000 Spirits sect disciple looked at the soul-chasing bees and asked, where did Wang Daoyu get these soul-chasing bees? Wang Daoyuan pretended to be confused and asked, what's soul-chasing bee? This spirit wasp was obtained by killing a rogue cultivator many years ago when he was traveling in the heavenly/mountain range. I don't know what this thing is called, but since it's quite long, I call it the long-tailed bee. The Myriad Spirit sect disciple said, this spiritual wasp was found by a grand elder of our Myriad Spirit sect more than 200 years ago in the sky beheading mountain range. I'm not afraid of exposing my family's dirty linen. More than 130 years ago, a disciple in charge of raising soul-chasing bees stole a nest of them and escaped. The Qi refinement disciple did not leave behind anything like a soul lamp, so we still don't know if he's dead or alive. The rogue cultivator that Dao Yu killed might be that traitor. I wonder when and where did Dao Yu kill that rogue cultivator? Wang Daoyuan replied, it's too early. At that time, I was still a Qi refinement cultivator. When I was traveling in the Green Willow region, I killed a treasure-snatching cultivator. The 1,000 Spirits sect disciple nodded and said, this matter can be considered to have come to an end. The sect traitor cannot escape death in the end. After we go out, I will report this matter to the Grand Elder of our sect. The decision will be made by the Grand Elder. Wang Daoyuan was not worried about what would happen to the Myriad Spirit sect. With his current status, let alone a Qi refinement cultivator, even if he killed a direct descendant of a Golden Core cultivator, what could the Myriad Spirit sect do? The Wang family was not a subordinate of the Myriad Spirit sect. More than 100 years ago, the Myriad Spirit sect and the Netherworld sect were still enemies. Wang Daoyuan said that he killed a treasure-snatching cultivator, but the Myriad Spirit sect did not have proof. It was said that the treasure-snatching cultivator was a traitor of the myriad spirit sect. Who could be sure that the soul-chasing bees did not change hands halfway? The soul-chasing bees flew forward for more than 100 feet before they were roasted to death by the magma. They did not trigger any array attacks. Wang Daoyuan released a 100-feet-long water dragon, which wrapped more than 10 soul-chasing bees and flew along the stone bridge to the other side. The heat of the magma was extremely strong, but it was unable to quickly roast a 100-feet-long water dragon. The water dragon successfully carried the soul-chasing bees to the other side of the magma river. Everyone also heaved a sigh of relief. At least they did not have to die on the bridge. The myriad spirit sect's disciple then released a 3-meter-long white leopard. This leopard was also a third-grade demonic beast. He glanced at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan also knew what he meant and used the water dragon to wrap the leopard. The leopard walked to the stone bridge and quickly ran to the other side. This time, everyone no longer had any doubts. There was no danger on the surface of the stone bridge. Everyone cast spells to protect themselves and walked across the stone bridge. Wang Daoyuan continued to release the soul-chasing bees to scout ahead, and the white leopard followed behind. After walking through a narrow passage, they came to a spacious space. There were 4 palace-like buildings here, and there was a cave abode on the stone wall. The 4 palaces were the refining hall, the pellet hall, the spirit beast hall, and the treasury. The cave abode was most likely the place where perfected Lord Hundred Spirits passed away. From the looks of it, perfected Lord Hundred Spirits might want to establish a sect. However, the outside world did not hear of any forces acknowledging perfected Lord Hundred Spirits as their ancestor. The only legacy of true Lord Hundred Spirits that was passed down to the outside world was the divine heaven-burning technique. Needless to say, the cave abode was very likely to contain perfected Lord Hundred Spirits' inheritance. Furthermore, the scarlet yang primordial fire was refined by perfected Lord Hundred Spirits, and it was most likely where he passed away. Seeing the 4 palaces and the cave abode, everyone began to be wary of each other. Wang Daoyuan smiled. Since you don't trust each other, then let's go our own way. His target was naturally the cave abode. He was here for the spiritual fire. The 4 top forces and the Zhou dynasty's imperial family had been passed down for tens of thousands of years. They really did not care much about the cultivation techniques and spells of a Yuanian cultivator. After all, these forces had more advanced inheritances. Although the Qin dynasty was founded less than 10,000 years ago, it was an old noble of the Zhou dynasty a long time ago. Their family also had Yuanian cultivation techniques and above. What they cared more about was the refining and alchemy inheritances left behind by perfected Lord Hundred Spirits, as well as the precious spiritual herbs and spiritual beasts. Moreover, the restriction array in the cave abode was definitely the strongest and the most difficult to break. It was better to get the treasures in the 4 palaces first before breaking into the cave abode. The ones who really cared about the Yuanian cultivation techniques were the 3 sects of the Zhou dynasty. After all, the 3 sects were established after the various countries fought for hegemony. They had never seen the Yuanian cultivation techniques before. The disciples of the other forces ran to the 4 palaces. The disciples of the 3 sects came to the entrance of the cave abode. Wang Daoyuan released a dozen soul-chasing bees, and they flew toward the entrance of the cave abode. When they were more than 10 feet away from the entrance, a red flame with a hint of gold shot out from the entrance, burning the soul-chasing bees to ashes instantly. The flame was only as thick as a chopstick. Everyone stood more than 10 feet away, but they felt hot all over. In addition to the violent fire attribute spiritual power, the flame also contained extremely rich pure yang qi. It was similar to the legendary scarlet yang primordial fire. Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed. The scarlet yang primordial fire was still there. However, it was troublesome to get in. The power of the flame was comparable to the attack of a golden core cultivator. Luo Hongming and the other 2 were so scared that their faces turned pale. The cultivation methods they practiced were all evil cultivation methods, and they were of the yin attribute. If the pure yin qi and the pure yang qi were mutually reinforcing and counteracting each other, they would not be afraid of each other. However, The underworld sect was an evil sect that pursued lethality. It was impossible for them to practice the pure yin qi. The yin qi in their spiritual power was also extremely impure. When the impure yin qi met the pure yang qi, it was like meeting the nemesis. The cultivators of the Thousand Spirits sect and the cruel Sun Palace also looked pale. The restriction array in the cave abode was so strong that the hope of breaking it was extremely slim. Chapter 425. The 2000 Spirit Sect cultivators quickly left the cave abode and headed for the Spirit Beast Hall. To them, the cultivation techniques of Yuanian cultivators were important, but treasuring the spirit beasts was even more important. Wang Daoyuan said to Luo Hongming and the other two, "Your cultivation techniques all contain yin qi, so you won't have much resistance against this flame. You won't be of any help if you continue to stay here. Let's go to the 4 palaces to search for treasures, lest the good stuff gets snatched away by other factions." The 3 of them had no objections. They also felt uncomfortable staying in this place with dense yang qi. After they left, Lei Wudao and Cultivator 2 of the Cruel Sun Palace were in a dilemma. If they continued to stay here, they might end up empty-handed. If they didn't stay here and Wang Daoyuan broke the defensive formation, they would suffer a great loss if he took all the benefits for himself. Lei Wudao instructed, "Senior brother 2, you continue to stay here. I'll go to the other palaces to search for treasures." Cultivator 2 didn't want to stay here either, but he still nodded and agreed. Only Wang Daoyuan and Cultivator 2 were left in front of the cave abode. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Daoyu 2, you're a fire attribute cultivator. Do you have any way to deal with this golden flame?" Cultivator 2 asked back, "You're a penta spirit roots cultivator. Don't you also cultivate fire attribute? Can't you tell if this flame can be dealt with?" Wang Daoyuan laughed disdainfully. "So Daoyu is planning to watch from the sidelines and pick up the spoils after I break the formation? Then I might as well get rid of Daoyu first before trying to break the formation." Cultivator 2 didn't want to fight with him now either. "What do you want?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Your Cruel Sun Palace is a large sect with several golden core cultivators. Furthermore, your fire attribute cultivation techniques are quite advanced. You should have fire control techniques, right? My master has also taught me how to control fire. How about we deal with this spirit fire together? Right now, the others are attacking the defensive formation of the 4 palaces. If they waited until they broke the formation and obtained the things in the palace, then they would come to the cave abode. Then the 2 of us won't be able to get anything. I don't dare to compete with the underworld sect, but do you dare to compete with the 4 top forces and the 2 royal families?" Cultivator 2 thought for a moment before replying, "All right, let's cooperate this once. However, if we get any cultivation methods or spells, we'll each make a copy of it. No one can keep it for themselves." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "No problem. I have the 5 elemental cultivation techniques. This fire elemental cultivation technique doesn't have much meaning. At most, I can learn some spells. I released the soul-chasing wasp to lure the array formation to attack. Then, we'll cast spells together to consume this red-gold flame." The spirit vein in this place was only of the 3rd grade, and it was impossible for it to support the array formation to continuously launch attacks that were comparable to that of a golden core cultivator. Once the might of these flames drops to the advanced stage of the Violet Palace realm, would we be unable to deal with a formation that isn't controlled by anyone with our strength? The cultivator surnamed 2 nodded and said, "Let's do that." With that said, the 2 of them began to cast spells to control the flames. Wang Daoyuan condensed a Baifeng phantom, while the cultivator surnamed 2 took out a scarlet gourd. After the 2 of them were ready, Wang Daoyuan released a dozen or so soul-chasing wasp, which flew towards the entrance of the cave. When the soul-chasing wasp was more than 10 feet away from the entrance, a wisp of golden flame appeared once again. Wang Daoyuan controlled the Baifeng phantom to fly over and extract the fire elemental spirit qi from this wisp of golden flame. On the other side, the cultivator surnamed 2 also controlled the scarlet gourd to extract the fire elemental spirit qi. No matter how strong this wisp of flame was, it wasn't controlled by anyone. It only knew how to deal with things that approached the cave, and didn't know how to deal with Wang Daoyuan and the cultivator surnamed Tuesday. Wang Daoyuan continuously released the soul-chasing wasp to their deaths, and the flame continued to burn. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Wang Daoyuan's Beiyuan phantom rapidly expanded. Its wingspan was now more than 150 feet. The entire illusory figure of the Beiyuan had turned completely golden. The cultivator's surname Tu's scarlet gourd also flickered with a red-gold radiance. The wisp of flame released by the formation was finally reduced to the level of an all-out attack by a late-stage Sifu realm cultivator. This level of attack no longer had the ability to threaten the lives of the two of them. At this moment, Wang Daoyuan felt that the defensive formation of the cave seemed to have a trace of connection with the Beiyuan phantom. He didn't find it strange. After all, the heaven-burning divine fire technique was created by the 100 spirits supreme. In addition, the spirit chi that formed the Beiyuan phantom all came from the red gold flame. It wasn't impossible for it to have some connection with the formation of the cave. He didn't release the soul-chasing wasp anymore. Instead, he controlled the Beiyuan phantom to fly within the range of the defensive formation. The formation didn't attack the Beiyuan phantom. Wang Daoyuan controlled the Beiyuan phantom to arrive at the entrance of the cave. The moment it touched the door opened automatically. The two of them were surprised. They originally thought that it would take a few hours to exhaust the formation's power. They didn't expect it to succeed so quickly. Wang Daoyuan guessed that the formation didn't attack indiscriminately. Instead, it used spirit chi to determine friend and foe. At first, the Beiyuan phantom didn't have any connection with the formation. After extracting a large amount of spirit chi from the red gold flame, a connection was formed. He extracted a portion of fire spirit chi from the Beiyuan phantom and wrapped it around his body to prevent the formation from attacking him. Then, he carefully entered the range of the formation. As expected, the formation didn't attack him. After entering the cave, he didn't retrieve the Beiyuan phantom. Instead, he compressed it to the size of a few dozen feet and brought it into the cave. Cultivator 2 followed suit. He extracted some spirit chi from the gourd dharma artifact and wrapped it around his body. He also successfully entered the cave. Then, he closed the door of the cave. There was nothing special about the cave of the 100 spirits supreme. It was a stone room that occupied half an acre of land. There was only a stone table and a few stone stools. It wasn't as fancy as Zhou Luan's cave. There was another door inside. The two of them were still wrapped in spirit chi extracted from the red gold flame. They weren't afraid of the formation's attack and continued to walk through the second door. The inside of the second door was very spacious. The floor and walls were engraved with formation patterns. There were also 8 white jade pillars that were 1 foot in diameter and 3 feet in height. The pillars were also engraved with complicated formation patterns. The 8 white jade pillars formed a circle. In the middle was a pit that was more than 3 feet in diameter and 3 feet in depth. There was a ball of red gold spirit fire in the pit. It should be the Scarlet Yang primordial fire. The Scarlet Yang primordial fire was only about 5 inches tall and emitted level 3 upper-grade spirit chi waves. Wang Daoyuan was a little excited. He couldn't wait to put the spirit fire into the space of his spirit pearl. However, he couldn't do it with Cultivator 2 here. There was a spirit beast egg floating above the Scarlet Yang primordial fire. This spirit beast egg was the size of a goose egg. The eggshell was white and there were complicated red gold patterns on it. These patterns seemed to contain something profound, but Wang Daoyuan couldn't understand what it meant. The spirit beast egg still contained rich vitality, but it seemed to be in a deep sleep. He used his divine sense to explore below and saw that below the Scarlet Yang primordial fire was the formation core made of bloodfire hibiscus wood. The formation core was directly connected to the magma below to provide the formation with fire attribute spirit chi. This formation was recorded in the 5 Elements Spiritual Masters Formation Inheritance. It was called the Sky-Burning Divine Fire Formation. It needed the spirit fire as the core of the formation core. Below the formation core, in addition to the formation patterns of the Sky-Burning Divine Fire Formation, there were other formation patterns. However, these formation patterns were used to guide spirit chi. It seemed that this should be the spirit chi center of the entire underground space. As long as the formation core made of blood-fire hibiscus wood was destroyed, the defensive formations of the four palaces would be all broken. The no-fly formation outside should also be difficult to protect. According to the information, the scarlet yang primordial fire of the 100 spirits was condensed with the true life fire of the red-feathered crow. The scarlet yang primordial fire was similar to the red-feathered crow's true life fire, so this egg needed to be nourished by the scarlet yang primordial fire. It was very likely to be the red-feathered crow's egg. There was such rich pure yang qi in the scarlet yang primordial fire. The red-feathered crow's true life fire would only have more yang qi. Chapter 426. The scarlet-feathered crow had the bloodline of the golden crow, and its true life flame was rich in yang qi. It could be seen that this scarlet-feathered crow's bloodline was not low. It might have the chance to become a real golden crow. If that was the case, then the value of this egg would be immeasurable. Even if it could not become a golden crow, its strength would not be low. It might even have the possibility of breaking through to the 5th stage. It could be nurtured as a divine beast. The lifespan of a divine beast was extremely long. It was not impossible to protect a force for tens of thousands of years. This Scarlet Sun true flame was the core of the formation. It could not be taken away. Otherwise, others would immediately rush over once the formation was broken. At that time, the fact that he had the Scarlet Sun true flame would be leaked. With the shameless character of the underworld sect's upper echelons, they would definitely force him to hand over the Scarlet Sun true flame. To get the Scarlet Sun true flame and not let others know that he had it, he needed Tu's cooperation. Wang Daoyuan was a professional at tricking people. What's more, people who walked the path of body refinement were mostly honest. It was not difficult to trick them. At this time, Tu was looking at the Scarlet Sun true flame and the scarlet-feathered crow's egg. He was almost drooling. Wang Daoyuan smiled. This thing is the core of the entire underground space's formation. Once it's broken, the defensive formation of the four palaces will also be broken. The others will quickly loot the palaces and then come here to snatch things from us. It's better to get the 100 spirits true lord's cultivation method and spells first before touching the spirit fire and the spirit beast egg. I won't hide it from you. This spirit beast egg should be the scarlet-feathered crow's. The scarlet-feathered crow has the bloodline of the golden crow. If this egg hatches, it can become the sect's divine beast. If Daoyu can recognize this egg as its master, his strength will definitely increase greatly. Moreover, the scarlet-feathered crow's true life flame is also very strong. If Daoyu can have the scarlet-feathered crow as a spirit beast, his potential will far surpass Lei Wudao. It's not impossible to take over the position of partial Sun Palace Master. You also know that I'm not a direct descendant of the Underworld sect. And the Underworld sect's inheritance is the corpse ghost Dao. If I raise a scarlet-feathered crow, not only will my status in the sect not rise, but I will also be suppressed and ostracized. Therefore, I felt that it would be better if Daoyu took the egg and I took the scarlet yang primordial flame. What do you think, Daoyu? The cultivator surnamed Tu pondered for a moment before nodding. All right, let's do that. However, Wang Daoyuan saw a flash of ruthlessness in his eyes. He was probably thinking about how to kill him and take all the treasures for himself. In this world, body-tempering cultivators were so scheming. There weren't many honest people like him. There was another door in the innermost part of the stone room where the eye of the formation was placed. Wang Daoyuan pointed at the door and said, "That should be the place where Bai Ling Immortal died. His magic items, cultivation methods, and spells should all be in there." Cultivator Tu nodded his head and the two of them walked towards a door. Arriving at the door, Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Daoyi Tu, there might be some danger inside. It's better to be prepared." With that, Wang Daoyuan took out the black tortoise shield and white tiger blade. Cultivator Tu also took out a heavy sword that was 5 feet long and 5 inches wide. It wasn't strange for body-tempering cultivators to use such magic items. He placed one hand on the door and gently pushed it open. Wang Daoyuan left the Bai Feng's shadow outside and the two of them entered the door together. Inside was a stone room that was more than 10 feet long and 3 feet wide. The layout of the stone room was very simple. There was a stone couch and a stone table. There was a skeleton sitting cross-legged on the couch and a ring on the stone table. On the table beside the ring, there was a line of words. My cultivation method, inheritance, and magic items are all in the ring. Those who are fated can take them. Those who disturb my slumber will die. The skeleton was also wearing a magic item Daoist robe. Nothing could be seen under the robe. Wang Daoyuan immediately snatched the ring and said, since Senior 100 Spirits True Monarch doesn't want anyone to touch his remains, it's best that we don't. The trump card left behind by a peak Yuanian cultivator isn't something we can handle. Let's go outside and split the loot. Cultivator 2 nodded. The two of them left the stone room and closed the door. Wang Daoyuan swung the white tiger blade at Cultivator Tuesday. Cultivator 2 also swung his sword at him. The two swords collided and a huge force was felt. Although Wang Daoyuan's physical strength wasn't weak, it couldn't be compared to a true body-tempering cultivator. He was at a disadvantage in this collision and was pushed back more than 10 feet by the huge force. As a result, it was more advantageous for Wang Daoyuan to increase the distance between the two of them. The two of them cursed at the same time, "Despicable person, you dare to sneak attack me." Both of them realized that their opponent was an expert in killing and robbing, so they stopped talking. Wang Daoyuan directly summoned the Bai Fong Phantom and tangled with Cultivator Tuesday. Although the Bai Fong Phantom had absorbed a lot of fire-type spiritual energy, Cultivator 2 was a Midsifu realm cultivator and wasn't easy to deal with. His gourd especially had a suppressive effect on the Bai Fong Phantom. Wang Daoyuan had to summon the white tiger blade to temporarily tie him down. If he wanted to hide the fact that he had obtained the Scarlet Yang primordial fire, he couldn't directly kill him. It was better to refine him into a doppelganger and put on a show. With his hands free, Wang Daoyuan condensed the phantoms of 5 life-bound magic artifacts and combined them into the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal. The white tiger blade and black tortoise shield also fused into the seal. He recalled the white tiger blade and the pressure on Cultivator 2 decreased. He controlled the fiery red gourd and suppressed the Bai Fong Phantom. Then he swung his sword at Wang Daoyuan. At this moment, the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal's phantom was almost solid. Under Wang Daoyuan's control, it emitted a strong suppressive force. Cultivator 2 only felt that the spiritual energy in his body couldn't circulate smoothly. When his heavy sword struck the seal, he and his sword were repelled and fell heavily to the ground. The seal only trembled a few times. Wang Daoyuan controlled the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal and didn't smash it over. Instead, it only pressed down on Cultivator 2's body. Cultivator 2 wanted to struggle but found that he couldn't use most of his spiritual energy and spiritual consciousness. He couldn't use his physical strength either. This was the effect of the suppressive force. Without enough strength or a way to break it, no matter how powerful one's Dharma spells were, they wouldn't be able to use much of their strength. This move was able to deal with late Sifu realm cultivators. Naturally, it wouldn't be a problem to deal with mid-Sifu realm cultivators. If he hadn't held back, Cultivator 2 would have been smashed into meat paste. Cultivator 2 knew that his life was in danger and cursed at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan couldn't be bothered with him and slashed at him with the soul-severing saber. There was a chance that the soul-severing saber could injure him. Furthermore, this person was a disciple highly valued by the Cruel Sun Palace and definitely had a Purple Mansion phenomenon. For cultivators with a Purple Mansion phenomenon, the soul-severing saber might not be able to break through their Purple Mansion and injure their soul. When the soul-severing saber attacked his sea of consciousness, his Purple Mansion phenomenon was a giant with an extremely strong physical body. Before the soul-severing saber could touch his Purple Mansion, the Purple Mansion phenomenon turned into a giant phantom and blocked the soul-severing saber. Unfortunately, he was suppressed by the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal and couldn't use much of his spiritual energy and spiritual consciousness. The giant phantom was quickly destroyed and the soul-severing saber slashed at his Purple Mansion. Cultivator 2's Purple Mansion was 8 inches in diameter. At this moment, a 3-inch hole was cut open and the power of the soul-severing saber was exhausted. With his purple mansion and phenomenon broken and suppressed by the 5 elements devil suppression seal, there was no way he could defend against spiritual consciousness attacks. Wang Daoyuan immediately condensed the soul-severing saber and attacked his sea of consciousness, slashing at the glabella of his soul. After a soul transformed into a spirit, its strength increased tremendously. The soul-severing saber couldn't disperse the spirit directly and could only shatter the origin of the spirit at the glabella. Cultivator too fainted instantly and was on the verge of death. Wang Daoyuan took out a soul-nourishing pendant from his universe ring and fused the split soul within into his glabella. Thereafter, he kept his split soul in the space of the spirit pearl and waited for the fusion to complete. All of Wang Daoyuan's split souls were created when he was at peak foundation establishment. Now that he was using them to control his Purple Mansion clone, he would need a longer time to fuse them. Chapter 427. After dealing with all this, Wang Daoyuan was also unbearably tired. The 10,000 Corpse Daoist master only knew the foundation establishment part of the doppelganger soul nurturing technique. The latter part was deduced by him and was not perfect. If it weren't for the soul-severing blade, he wouldn't have been able to injure Tu's soul at all. If it weren't for the 5 elements devil suppression seal, he wouldn't have been able to subdue this person without injuring his body. The most important thing was that the cruel Sun Palace was too weak. If it was a sect like the Archaic Mysteries sect, the Golden Core direct disciples would have a spiritual sense secret technique planted in their sea of consciousness. When an external force attacked the sea of consciousness, they would counterattack. When they couldn't resist the external force, they would first destroy the cultivator's soul to prevent the sect's secrets from being leaked. This kind of person couldn't be refined into a doppelganger and might even injure himself. Fortunately, the cruel Sun Palace was just a nouveau riche and didn't have such a clever secret technique. After dealing with Tu, it was time to deal with the spiritual fire. It was definitely not possible to take the spiritual fire now. He needed time to let his split soul control his doppelganger. Then he and his doppelganger would play a show to cover up the truth that 100 Spirit True Monarch's inheritance had fallen into his hands. This spiritual fire was the core of the underground space's array formation. Once the spiritual fire was taken away, the array formation of the 4 palaces would be broken. Therefore, not only could he not take away the spiritual fire, but he also had to increase the power of the spiritual fire to prevent them from breaking the array formation too quickly. Wang Daoyuan controlled the Beiyuan Phantom and integrated the fire attribute spiritual power into the Scarlet Yang Real Fire. After half a cup of tea's time, all the fire attribute spiritual power in the Beiyuan Phantom was integrated into the Scarlet Yang Real Fire. Wang Daoyuan also breathed a sigh of relief. Although maintaining the Beiyuan Phantom didn't consume spiritual power, it consumed a lot of spiritual sense. Now that he didn't need to consume spiritual sense, he ate a few black jade lotus seeds and began to recover the power of his spiritual sense. After a quarter of an hour, his spiritual sense had almost recovered. Wang Daoyuan sat cross-legged beside the Scarlet Yang Real Fire and injected his spiritual power and spiritual sense into the array core below the Scarlet Yang Real Fire and began to control the array formation. Through this array core, he could perceive the situation of the entire underground space. Even the forbidden space array formation from the hidden cloud continent to the underground space was under the control of this array core. At this moment, Wang Daoyin and Brother Lu were attacking the array outside the refining palace. They wanted to obtain the artifact forging inheritance and verify it with the Divine Weapon Pavilion's artifact forging inheritance. If they were lucky, they might even be able to obtain some artifacts. It could also prevent the brilliant refining techniques from falling into the hands of other forces and affecting their own businesses. 2 disciples of the Myriad Spirit sect were eyeing the Spirit Beast Hall. The others gathered at the entrance of the treasury. Xian Jiuxiao took out his yin-yang compass and probed the defensive array formation of the treasury. There was no one at the entrance of the pellet hall for the time being. This was because the medicinal pills could not be stored for a long time. Even if the Yuanian cultivators were skilled, they would not be able to store the medicinal pills for 20,000 years. Even if there were pills in the pellet hall, they could no longer be consumed. Even if he spent a lot of effort to break through the pellet hall's defensive formation, he would only be able to obtain the alchemy inheritance. It would be more reliable to attack the pellet hall after obtaining the benefits from the treasury. There was no need to care about the two disciples of the myriad spirit sect. They did not have the ability to break through the array of the spirit beast hall. As for Lin Yun and senior brother Lu's clones, he could go easy on them. As for the treasury, Xin Jiuxiao's threat was too great. The Celestial Arcanum sect had a brilliant array Dao inheritance, not to mention that the yin-yang compass in his hand was brilliant. It was easy for him to detect the weakness of the array formation. If there was no one controlling the array formation, it would not be able to last long in his hands. Thus, Wang Daoyuan had to give him some help. He could not directly control the array formation to resist since it would expose him. As long as he changed the flow of the array formation's spiritual energy when he used the yin-yang compass to search for the array formation's weakness, it would be fine. After a few hours, Xin Jiuxiao's clones would be done and he could start acting. Black and white light appeared on Xin Jiuxiao's yin-yang compass as it searched for the array formation's weakness. Wang Daoyuan used the core of the array to change the trajectory of the array formation's weakness and played hide and seek with the black and white light. After 6 to 8 hours, Xin Jiuxiao could no longer take it. Putting away the yin-yang compass, he took out a pill and sat on the spot to recover. When the others saw that they could not find the array's weakness, they began to use force. Wang Daoyuan began to transfer spiritual energy from the other 3 halls and the cave abode to strengthen the defensive light shield of the treasury. If a cultivator wanted to break an array formation of the same level, it would take at least 2 to 3 days. After another 6 to 6 hours, the clones in the space of the spirit pearl finally finished fusing. Wang Daoyuan used the clones to peek into the memories of the clones. This person was called Tu Yuming, and his master was the Grand Elder of the Cruel Sun Palace, Daoist Master Qiyuan. Daoist Master Qiyuan was about the same age as Daoist Master Ming Hai of the Underworld sect. They were both over 900 years old and had passed away in the past 20 to 30 years. This time, the Jindan stage elder of the Cruel Sun Palace was Daoist Master Qiyuan. However, Tu Yuming was not too highly regarded and was not nurtured as a Jindan stage seedling. He was already close to 300 years old and was still a Zifu intermediate stage cultivator. Tu Yuming still had the life-saving magic item that Daoist Master Qiyuan gave him, the red primordial divine fire bead. This item was a one-time use magic item and was a bit like the third fire lightning bead. Tu Yuming's red primordial divine fire bead was comparable to the full power attack of a peak Zifu realm cultivator. This item could be used for acting. If the distance was controlled well, he could use the 5 elements demon suppression seal and a few grade 3 magic items to take it head-on. Of course, he would inevitably be seriously injured. It was unrealistic to not be injured at all when acting. However, before that, he had to be prepared to be interrogated after doing a good deed. He had 2 universe rings on him. One was snatched from Qinji and the other was just obtained. These things could not be left outside and had to be kept in the space of the spirit pearl. Of course, he had to bring some good stuff with him. He took out a few golden lightning demon destruction talismans, a few magic items, some pills, formation plates and a small group of soul-chasing bees from the space of the spirit pearl. He also took out half of the land that he had taken from the small herb garden and brought it with him. Before that, he had to help his brother break the array formation of the weapon forging hall. Xin Jiuxiao had given up on finding the weakness of the array formation over at the treasure vault, and everyone was attacking the defensive light barrier. Wang Daoyuan transferred 80% of the spiritual power in the array formation of the weapon forging hall to the treasure vault. Wang Daoyin and senior brother Lu were attacking the array formation. A purple thunder divine fire shot out and directly shattered the defensive light barrier. When the array formation was forcibly broken, the other cultivators also noticed the commotion. Wang Daoyin and senior brother Lu immediately ran into the weapon forging hall and began to loot. Wang Daoyuan closed all the restrictions in the weapon forging hall to provide them with convenience. When the cultivators attacking the treasure vault reacted and ran to the weapon forging hall, the 2 of them had already taken the weapon forging inheritance. The others could not snatch anything from them. They could only snatch some magic items. While everyone's attention was not on the array formation, Wang Daoyuan took the egg of the red-feathered crow from the core of the array formation and put it into the space of the spirit pearl. Then he took out the vermilion bird fan that he had refined in the divine weapon pavilion as an experiment. With all his strength, the red yang primordial fire quickly left the array formation and fell on the vermilion bird fan. He quickly put the vermilion bird fan back into the space of the spirit pearl. The red yang primordial fire also followed the vermilion bird fan into the space of the spirit pearl. At this time, the red yang primordial fire was third level upper grade. After entering the space of the spirit pearl, it quickly fell on the fire spiritual vein south of the dust returning flame. Just as it was about to show its power, the other three spiritual fires suppressed it. It was not like the Gui water death flame, which disturbed the entire space of the spirit pearl. The egg of the red-feathered crow was also placed next to the red yang primordial fire and continued to be nourished. At this time, the array formation of the entire underground space was broken and the show was about to start. Chapter 428. Wang Daoyuan released Tu Yuming, and the two fought for a few moves, leaving some traces of fighting in the cave. Then Wang Daoyuan used the 5 elements devil suppression seal, and Tu Yuming fled to the outermost stone room of the cave. Wang Daoyuan chased to the second door, and Tu Yuming turned around and threw out the red essence god fire bead, then fled out of the cave. Wang Daoyuan threw out the glazed flame black iron shield he snatched from Qinji, and smashed it forward with the 5 elements devil suppression seal. He used the cloud mist escape and fled to the back. The red essence god fire bead exploded at the second door, and a crimson flame surged out. The glazed flame black iron shield was like a piece of paper, instantly turning into ashes. The 5 elements devil suppression seal was also scattered, and the black tortoise shield and white tiger blade were heavily damaged. Wang Daoyuan was sent flying by the aftermath of the red essence god fire bead's explosion, and his internal organs were injured. Coupled with the damage to his natal magic artifact, he would need at least a month or 2 to recover. The array core in the second stone room was also burned to ashes by the flames, leaving no evidence behind. He did not have much spirit energy left, but he still insisted on using a rejuvenation technique on himself. Then he took out a jar of spirit peach dew and drank it. Without the obstruction of the array, the others immediately heard the sound. As everyone rushed to the cave, they saw 2 Yoming's fleeing figure. Xianxia and Kuei sword were the first to arrive, and Wang Daoyuan immediately picked up the black tortoise shield and white tiger blade, ready to attack at any time. Xianxia smiled and said, "Fellow Daoist Wang, you don't have to be like this. In any case, we've gone through thick and thin together. Fellow Daoist Kuei Jian is an honest person. How can you take advantage of others when they're in trouble?" Wang Daoyin also rushed over quickly, and Wang Daoyuan put away the black tortoise shield and white tiger blade. At this time, his brothers were still the most reliable. At this time, Xianxia asked, "Dao Yu, what happened here?" Wang Daoyuan said with a bitter smile, "That kid's surname too is really a good for nothing. We agreed to share the inheritance of 100 Spirit True Lord equally, but he wanted to take it all. When he fought with me, he was at a disadvantage, so he fled. When I chased after him, he turned around and threw a scarlet bead, which emitted flames that filled the sky. I resisted with all my might, but I was still injured. Even my intrinsic dermic artifact was damaged." At this time, a clamor came from outside. Xianxia turned around and ran out. The others also seemed to have thought of something and ran out together. Wang Daoyin saw that his face was pale, his breathing was unstable, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. He had obviously suffered internal injuries. She took out a healing pill and handed it to him. "Second brother, this is the sweet rain jade dew pill that master prepared for me. Quickly take it." The sweet rain jade dew pill was a relatively rare healing pill. It had miraculous effects on cultivators below the golden core stage. Wang Daoyuan coughed twice and took the pill. After consuming one of the pills and refining it slightly, Zhang Xian felt that his injuries had healed significantly. This medicinal pill was indeed brilliant. In just half the time it took to brew a cup of tea, he had finished refining it and his injuries had recovered by more than half. As for the rest of his injuries, he would not be able to recover quickly even if he took medicine. He would need to recuperate slowly. At this time, Tu Yoming's clone had already fled to the ground. After leaving the cave, he headed straight to the east. Those golden core stage cultivators outside the Heaven/Mountain range were thousands of miles away from the hidden cloud continent, so they couldn't see the situation on the island. Tu Yuming flew to the east of the 100-River Lake and crossed the canyon. He casually killed a second-grade demonic beast and hid in the cave. He also carried a spirit restriction silk cloak with him. As long as he wore the cloak, it would be difficult for others to find him. Wang Daoist also brought his younger brother out of the cave and scanned the 4 halls with his spiritual sense. The treasury and the spiritual beast hall had already been plundered clean. Everyone was now looting the pellet hall. The pellet hall probably only had some alchemy inheritances and some tools needed to refine pills. Now, there couldn't be anything left. Not long after, everyone came out of the pellet hall and came to the entrance of the cave. Lei Wudao looked at Wang Daoist and asked, "Daoist Wang, may I ask where my senior brother Tu is?" Wang Daoist raged, "That son of a bitch took the 100-spirit true lord's inheritance for himself and escaped. He even used a scarlet pearl to injure me. If I catch him, I'll definitely chop him into pieces." Lei Wudao's face was filled with disbelief as he continued to question, "That's just your side of the story. It's not worth believing." At this moment, Kuei Jian couldn't stand it anymore and raged, "I saw that Tu guy escape with my own eyes. If he's not guilty, why would he run? I can't stand your cruel Sun Palace's character. Back then, you guys fought with so many people. You couldn't even defeat Daoist Yuchuan in a head-on battle and bullied his juniors. That Tu brat mocked and ridiculed us before, and now you're being sarcastic. If it was me, I would have killed everyone from your cruel Sun Palace. Don't say that you're a sword cultivator in the future. Even I feel embarrassed." Lei Wudao didn't dare to say anything to Kuei Jian. Xianxia Xiao also came out to smooth things over. "I did see Dao Yu escape earlier, and Dao Yu's injuries weren't light. There are also traces of a battle in the cave, and it doesn't conflict with what Dao Yu said. If you don't believe me, you can go in and take a look." Everyone was curious about Senior Yuaning's cave, so they all went in one after another. Seeing the burn marks left behind by the scarlet primordial spirit fire pearl, most of them believed Wang Daoyuan's words. The 2 myriad spirit sect cultivators and Lu Jinhui even went to the 3rd stone room to take a look. However, they didn't dare to touch the remains of the 100-spirit true lord. Everything that could be taken away had been taken away, so there was no point in staying here. Everyone left the underground cave and returned to the hidden cloud continent. Lei Wudao went to the Green Willow continent and asked everyone on the island, "Did you see anyone leave the hidden cloud continent? If you dare to hide it from me, I won't leave you alive." A Foundation establishment stage cultivator flew into the air on his sword and cupped his hands towards Lei Wudao. "Senior, before you, there was a fiery light that flew out of the hidden cloud continent and headed towards the east. The Green Willow continent was only a few hundred miles away from the hidden cloud continent, so it wasn't possible to see clearly from this distance. However, when Tu Yuming escaped, he didn't hide. When he flew on the sword, the fire attribute spirit energy released light, so Foundation establishment cultivators could still see it. This Foundation establishment peak stage cultivator was Shi Xinghua, the leader of the Green Willow continent. Wang Daoist also flew on the flying boat and said coldly, "Lei Wudao, what do you have to say now?" Lei Wudao was speechless for a long time, and in a fit of anger, he slashed at the defensive formation of the Green Willow continent. The defensive formation of the Green Willow continent was very advanced, and the defensive barrier only trembled slightly. The 3 sects of Zhao all knew that the Green Willow continent was a remnant of the Zhao clan. Now that Lei Wudao attacked, Luo Hongming and the other 2 wanted to use this chance to deal a heavy blow to the Green Willow continent. Shi Xinghua was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. If they attacked the Green Willow continent, then his hidden Zifu realm cultivator would have to act. When he saw the 5-colored phoenix pattern on Zhou Jingyuan's robe, he immediately cupped his hands. Your Highness, I am a descendant of the River Yangshi clan, a branch of the Zhou clan. Your Highness, please save the cultivators of the Green Willow continent for the sake of our clan. As a direct descendant of the Zhou clan, Zhou Jingyuan naturally couldn't just stand by and watch. He cupped his hands to the cultivators of the 3 sects of Zhao and said, I don't care about the affairs of Zhao, but the River Yangshi clan is indeed a branch of the Zhou clan. Now that my clansmen are asking me for help, I can't just ignore them. I hope the 3 sects can give me some face and let them off this time. Everyone knew Zhou Jingyuan's identity. He was the strongest contender for the crown prince of Zhou and the young master of the Zhou clan. Killing a branch of the Zhou clan in front of him was the same as slapping him in the face. Zhou Qi was a shrewd person and immediately returned the salute. Your Highness is too serious. Since your Highness is here, we naturally won't do anything to the Zhou clan. He represented the underworld sect and accepted Zhou Jingyuan's request. He gave Zhou Jingyuan a good impression and received a small favor from Zhou Jingyuan. The other 2 sects could only agree. If they continued to fight, Zhou Jingyuan would be killed. Shi Xinghua also bowed to Zhou Jingyuan, thanking him for helping them out. Now that the matter was settled, Wang Daoyuan steered the flying boat and led everyone to the west. Chapter 429. An hour later, the flying boat left the sky-split mountain range and arrived before the group of Golden Core cultivators. Daoist Scarlet Origin glanced at the 19 Zifu disciples and asked, Where's my disciple, Tu Yuming? Lei Wudao couldn't answer. Once he did, it would be tantamount to admitting that Tu Yuming had stolen Daoist 100 Spirits' legacy. Wang Daoyuan replied, Dao Yu and I entered Daoist 100 Spirits' resting place and obtained Daoist 100 Spirits' techniques and legacies. Originally, we agreed to split the good stuff between the 2 of us. We also copied the techniques and legacies. However, Dao Yu wanted to take it all for himself and used a flaming pearl to injure me before fleeing with the legacy. Hearing this, Daoist Thunderflame and Daoist Nethersea glared at Daoist Scarlet Origin. Daoist Scarlet Origin naturally didn't dare to admit this. He retorted, You shameless brat, do you have any proof that my disciple stole the legacy? Wang Daoyuan replied, Dao Yu and the others who went with us can testify. Zhou Jingyuan had always liked to speak up for justice. He said, Dao Yu is right. When we heard the explosion, we rushed to the cave residence. Dao Yu just happened to be fleeing outside. Dao Yu was heavily injured and even his life-bound magic artifact was severely damaged. There were many traces of battle in the cave residence, some of which were left behind by fire-type magics. Its power was comparable to a peak Zifu disciple's full power attack. Xian Jiuxiao and Kuei Jian both nodded in agreement. Daoist Nethersea said angrily, Old Ghost Scarlet Origin, the pearl Daoyuan mentioned should be your Scarlet Origin Divine Fire Pearl, right? What else do you have to say? Daoist Thunderflame asked coldly, Dao, your disciple attacked and injured my disciple. How should we deal with this? Daoist Scarlet Origin broke out in cold sweat. It didn't matter if he offended the underworld sect. However, if he offended Daoist Thunderflame, the sect would suffer a great loss if he was stopped by Daoist Thunderflame. He didn't dare to be tough and cupped his hands. Thunderflame Daoyu, I don't know where my disciple ran off to. I've already sent him a message. When he returns and understands the situation, I'll compensate him. Daoist Nethersea continued, Daoist Scarlet Origin, what about my sect's losses? Scarlet Origin laughed, Dao, you have to wait for my disciple's return. At most, we can wait for him to return and ask the underworld sect to make a copy of True Monarch 100 Spirits' inheritance. The Dark Sea Master nodded in satisfaction and said, Since this matter has been settled, let's go back to Clear Glass City to discuss other matters. Staying here will make us look like a joke. Everyone returned to the Clear Glass Market and came to the meeting hall of the Netherworld Sects Station. Daoist Daoist, Daoist Origin, Daoist Daoist, and Origin. Daoist Daoist and Origin. Daoist Daoist Lord. The Golden Core cultivators present fell into deep thought when they heard that true Lord Hundred Spirits had refined the entire Hidden Cloud Peak into a magic tool. Low-level cultivators only knew that using a mountain to refine a magic tool was very difficult, but they did not know how difficult it was. These late Aorist core stage cultivators were already close to the Yuanying realm. Only then did they realize how big the gap was between them and Adept 100 Spirits. Yulong Zhenren of the Thousand Spirits sect asked Wang Daoyuan, where did little friend Wang's soul-chasing bees come from? Thus, Wang Daoyuan repeated what he had said earlier to him. Yulong Zhenren nodded and said, since you got it from a rogue cultivator, I can't say anything. This matter is over. A nest of soul-chasing bees was not a big deal. If Wang Daoyuan were to fall out with Daoist Lei Yan, it would be equivalent to not giving Daoist Lei Yan any face. For the sake of the soul-chasing bees, it would affect the relationship between the Thousand Spirits sect and the Divine Weapon Pavilion. That would not be worth it. Daoyuan, what did you and Tu Yuming find at the place where Reverend 100 Spirits passed away? Asked Nether Sea Master. If it were only cultivation methods and spells, that kid wouldn't have been afraid to come back. Wang Daoyuan answered, in the third stone room of Reverend 100 Spirits' abode, there was only a Qian Kuan ring other than the corpse of Reverend 100 Spirits. This Qian Kuan ring was taken by Daoyu, so I can't say what's in it. Originally, I wanted to get the second stone room and divide the things in it. But when I got out of the third stone room, Daoyu wanted to take the inheritance for himself. From the beginning to the end, I didn't touch the Qian Kuan ring, so I can't be sure what's in it. Other than the ring, is there anything else? Immortal Qi Yuan asked. I heard them say that the formation outside the abode can release golden flames. After you and Tu Yuming fought, the entire underground formation was destroyed. The core formation I should be in the abode. What kind of formation is it? Wang Daoyuan answered, there is indeed a formation in the second stone room. There are 8 white jade pillars surrounding a core formation eye in the middle. I've never seen this formation before, so I don't know what kind of formation it is. On the core formation eye, there is a golden red bead with dense fire attribute spiritual power. I didn't see what kind of magic tool it was, but I know that it's the core formation eye's suppression item. At that time, we were in a hurry to get Reverend 100 Spirits' inheritance, so we didn't move it. After that, we fell out with Daoyu, and this item was taken away by him. Other than the corpse of Reverend 100 Spirits, there's nothing else in the abode. The Archaic Arcanum sect was proficient in formations. When Daoist Xiao Tian heard this, he immediately determined what kind of formation it was. He stroked his beard and said, that formation should be the heaven-burning divine flame formation. It's just that the core formation eye of the heaven-burning divine flame formation needs spiritual fire to suppress the formation. Reverend 100 Spirits had the Scarlet Yang True Fire, so the golden red flames should be from the Scarlet Yang True Fire. This golden red bead can be used to suppress the formation, so it should be related to the Scarlet Yang True Fire. The Scarlet Yang True Fire's flame seed is very likely to be hidden in the bead. In this way, the kid with the surname Tu wanted to take the spiritual fire for himself. If he came back, the spiritual fire might not fall into his hands. Now that he has Yuanying's inheritance and the spiritual fire, it shouldn't be a big problem for him to cultivate to the golden core stage. It's reasonable that he didn't come back. Daoist Master Qi Yuan was unhappy and immediately retorted, this is just Wang's little friend's side of the story. Maybe the golden red bead is on him. Hearing this, the other golden core stage cultivators also had some doubts. Only Wang Daoyuan and Tu Yuming knew about this golden red bead. The others didn't see it, so it wasn't impossible for Wang Daoyuan to keep it for himself. Naturally, Daoist Master Lei Yan had to back up his disciple. He slammed the table and shouted angrily, Daoyi Qiyuan, you must have evidence to back up your words. Wang Daoyuan immediately persuaded, Master, don't be so angry. Since Daoist Master Qiyuan doesn't believe me, then just search. I was with Daoyu all the way and didn't have the chance to hide anything. If I took it, it would still be on me. But senior, what if you can't find it? Daoist Master Qiyuan snorted coldly and said, I'll pay double for the loss of my disciple injuring you. Wang Daoyuan had long expected this to happen. He had already made his preparations. Letting him search the place once, he could still get rid of suspicion. Otherwise, he wouldn't have peace in the future with so many big forces eyeing him. He took out dozens of storage bags hidden in his Daoist robe and put them on the table. He cupped his hands and said, "Here are all my storage bags. Please check them." Everyone opened the storage bags one by one. Apart from land, there were spirit wine, all kinds of food, magic tools, talismans, and other things. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "What do you think, senior?" Daoist Master Qi Yuan didn't give up. According to them, you and little friend Wang Daoyin were alone for a while. You are brothers, so it's not impossible for you to leave your things with him. Wang Daoyin also put his storage bag on the table for everyone to check. Naturally, they didn't find anything. Daoist Master Lei Yen angrily said, "Daoyu Qi Yuan, why don't you check my interspatial ring?" Daoist Master Qi Yuan knew he was in the wrong and didn't dare to continue being stubborn. He took out 2 medicine bottles from his storage bag and apologized. "I'm sorry for offending you this time. Here are 10 third-grade upper-grade rain dew pills as compensation." Chapter 430. Wang Daoyuan took the bottle and didn't pursue the matter. Since he had achieved his goal, there was no point in being entangled. After a body search, there was nothing suspicious on him, which dispelled everyone's suspicions about him. Since the matter had been resolved, there was no need for them to continue staying. The cultivators of the Myriad Spirit sect and the Savage Sun Palace were reluctant to leave. They wanted to see if Tu Yuming would return. As for the 6 factions outside of Zhao, they had no interest in staying. The Zhou and Qin families left first, and the cultivators of Qin rarely appeared in Zhao. As a first-rate superpower, Qin was too low-key. The 2 members of the Qin royal family who entered Perfected Lord Bai Ling's cave didn't say a word from beginning to end. They didn't snatch things first, nor did they fall behind. With such a low-key and pragmatic style, it was no wonder that Qin could grow into a first-rate superpower. After the Zhou and Qin families left, 3 of the 4 top factions also left. After Wang Daoyin returned to Jade Spring Peak to pay his respects to his parents and brother, he also left Qingli City with Lei Yen Daoist. Nether Sea Daoist summoned Wang Daoyuan, Luo Hongming, and the others to ask about their gains. Wang Daoyuan replied, "I'm incompetent. Although I entered Perfected Lord Bai Ling's place of death, the inheritance was taken away. I didn't gain anything other than the land I took." Nether Sea Daoist waved his hand and said, "Daoyin, you don't have to be like this. Although the quality isn't high, some of them are extremely rare in the outside world. Besides, you also protected the 4th-grade lower-grade hidden cloud tea tree for the sect, so your contribution is not small. In the end, we couldn't protect Perfected Lord Bai Ling's inheritance because Tu Yuming had the Scarlet Primordial Spirit Fire Pearl. You're only at the early stage of the Violet Palace realm, so it's normal that you can't block it. You've also contributed a lot, so I'll reward you with 500,000 contribution points." Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "Thank you, Grand Elder." Luo Hongming, Zhou Qi, and Lu Jinhui started attacking the treasury. After Wang Daoyuan helped his younger brother break the formation of the refining hall, Lu Jinhui went over to snatch some magic tools. Luo Hongming and Zhou Qi, on the other hand, rushed into the treasury after all the formations were broken and grabbed a lot of treasures. Thereafter, the 3 of them entered the pellet hall and snatched some incomplete alchemy inheritances. The contribution points that the 3 of them received ranged from hundreds of thousands to millions. After giving out the rewards, Wang Daoyuan returned to Jade Spring Peak and checked his actual gains in his cave. Wang Daoyuan also had his doppelganger Li Qingchuan claim ownership of the ring left behind by true monarch 100 spirits. This ring was called the 100 Spirits Ring. It was a high-grade spatial treasure. The space inside was very large, about 500 square meters. Moreover, this ring was like a spirit beast pouch that could store spirit beasts. There was nothing special inside, only 2 beast skin books. One of them was the main cultivation technique of true Lord 100 Spirits, called the Heavenly Fire Soul Refining Technique. This was a fire attribute Yuanine technique. It was useless to Wang Daoyuan now, but it might be useful in the future. Although the 5-spirit immortal art left behind by the 5 elements Daoist was brilliant, it only had the method to form yuaning. There was no yuaning cultivation technique, but this cultivation technique was very suitable for Wang Daoyuan. He didn't plan to change his cultivation technique halfway through. Therefore, if he could form yuaning in the future, he would have to deduce the 5-spirit immortal art for the yuaning stage. The heavenly fire soul refining technique could be used as a reference. When he reached the golden core stage, he could try to simplify the heavenly fire soul refining technique into a golden core or even a violet palace realm cultivation technique. There were still some fire attribute cultivators in the Wang clan. For example, his third brother, Wang Daocheng, was a fire attribute cultivator. The other beast skin book was called the Fire Controlling Record. It recorded true Monarch 100 Spirits experience in controlling fire, including the complete heaven-burning divine flame art. Wang Daoyuan already had 4 spiritual flames, so this thing was extremely valuable to him. Furthermore, if he wanted to modify the vermilion bird fan in the future, he could refer to the Fire Controlling Record. It was a pity that true Monarch 100 Spirits pill tools and beast taming inheritance weren't in the ring. They were probably placed in the 4 palaces. That wasn't all. The most important thing was the Scarlet Yang Primordial Flame and the Scarlet Crow Egg. After the Scarlet Yang Primordial Flame merged with the Fire Spiritual Vein, the 5 spiritual veins in the Spiritual Pearl had also improved. Even the smallest metal spiritual vein was already a foot long and had reached the first level of medium-grade spiritual vein. The other 4 spiritual veins that had merged with spiritual flames were now 2 feet long and had reached high-grade Tier 1. Wang Daoyuan had a premonition that if he could find all 5 elemental spiritual flames, these 5 spiritual veins would definitely undergo a qualitative change. Currently, these 5 spiritual veins were better than nothing. They didn't have much of an effect on the concentration of spiritual qi in the space. As for the Scarlet Crow Egg, it seemed to have some spirituality. It ran to the Scarlet Yang Primordial Flame and floated above it. Wang Daoyuan also took the time to recognize it as its master. Although this thing was rich in vitality, it had been there for more than 20,000 years. It was hard to say when it would hatch. Since the flow of time in the spiritual pearl was fast, it didn't matter if it took a long time. The spiritual herbs harvested from this trip were also very valuable. The purple cloud tree was casually planted in the reserved spiritual fields around the life spiritual fire. It wasn't very close to the life spiritual fire. The purple cloud tree didn't have high requirements for its living environment. As long as there was enough spiritual qi, it could grow normally. Wang Daoyuan had obtained a purple cloud tree sapling and a purple cloud tree stump. Both of them had survived. However, it would be very troublesome to let it absorb the purple qi and form a purple cloud tree heart. The environment where the top forces planted the purple cloud tree was also very harsh. If the environment wasn't good enough, it wouldn't affect the growth of the purple cloud tree, but it would severely affect the speed of forming the purple cloud tree heart. The formation of the purple cloud tree heart mainly depended on how much purple qi it absorbed. If it couldn't absorb the purple qi, it would have lived 100,000 years in vain. With abundant purple qi, it would take less time to form the purple cloud tree heart. There was already pure yin qi and pure yang qi in the spiritual pearl. However, there wasn't much of either and it wasn't enough to form the purple qi. A few hidden cloud tea sprouts were planted beside the life spiritual fire and had already grown. After all, they were plucked from a stage 4 spiritual herb and had rich spiritual qi. They were now stage 3 spiritual herbs. As long as they grew a little, Wang Daoyuan would be able to drink stage 3 hidden cloud tea. The 50 to 60 purple dragon pattern ginseng he obtained from the second level of the herb garden were also quite valuable. They could be used to refine more than 50 cauldrons of elixirs. With Wang Daoyuan's 30% success rate, he could refine more than 150 purple cloud elixirs. The matter of refining elixirs had to be arranged later. The most important thing now was to condense the 4th spirit power seed. Every time the 5-spirit immortal transformation technique condensed a spirit power seed, his cultivation speed would increase by a lot. Wang Daoyuan currently had 3 spirit power seeds. Without taking elixirs, his cultivation speed could be comparable to that of a 3 spiritual root cultivator with a 5-inch main spiritual root. After condensing 4 spirit power seeds, his cultivation speed should be comparable to that of a 3 spiritual root cultivator with a 6-inch main spiritual root. After condensing 5 spirit power seeds, his cultivation speed would skyrocket. At that time, his cultivation speed should be comparable to that of a 2 spiritual root cultivator with an 8-inch main spiritual root. It would be slightly worse than that of the 12th uncle but better than that of the 3rd brother. As for the effects after refining the spiritual fire, it was hard to say. Back then, the 5 elements venerable only refined 1 dust-returning flame and was able to cultivate from the early stage golden core realm to the peak golden core realm in less than 200 years. It was hard to say how fast his cultivation speed would be after refining the 5 elements spiritual fire. However, his cultivation speed wouldn't be slower than refining a type of spiritual fire. As for the turf that was peeled off, his clone was still slowly picking out the spirit plants among them. There was no need to keep some of the spirit plants that he already had. The spirit plants that were not in the space of the spiritual pearl were seeds. Wang Daoyuan didn't need many stage 2 spirit plants anymore. Chapter 431. After checking his gains from this trip, it was time to condense the 4th spirit power seed. Wang Daoyuan condensed a fire attribute spirit power ball and drew out a wisp of red yang true fire. He extracted its essence and condensed the fire attribute spirit power seed. 3 days later, the scarlet gold fire attribute spirit power seed was completely refined. After the second refinement of the fire attribute spirit power seed, the fire attribute spirit power had also turned scarlet gold. There was nothing special about this spirit power, but when used to cast fire spells, its lethality would be greatly increased. The yang qi in the spirit power was no less effective against evil cultivators than the 5 elements divine lightning. As the disciple of perfected being Qi Yuan, Tu Yoming's clone had also learned the fire divine lightning. Although the fire divine lightning of the cruel sun palace only had 3 levels, he had 4 levels of the earth divine lightning and could try to derive the 4th level. After all, they were both 5 elements divine lightning and had many similarities that could be used for reference. Moreover, the fire divine lightning pearl in Zhou Luan's hands contained the 6th level of the fire divine lightning. Perhaps Blood Shadow also had a higher level of the 5 elements divine lightning and could think of a way to trick it over. With the fire divine lightning, coupled with the characteristics of the fire attribute spirit power, its restraining effect against evil cultivators would be greatly increased. The cultivators of the Thousand Spirit Sect and Cruel Sun Palace were still in the clear glass market. The storm of this matter had not passed yet, so he was not in a hurry to retrieve Tu Yoming's clone. It was better to repair the 2 natal dermic weapons first. With the white tiger blade and black tortoise shield damaged, his fighting strength was greatly reduced. 2 months later, the 2 natal dermic weapons were repaired. The people of the Thousand Spirit Sect and Cruel Sun Palace were still in the clear glass market. Wang Daoyuan was not in a hurry and refined more than 50 purple dragon pattern ginseng into purple dragon pattern pills. A month later, the purple dragon pattern pills were refined. More than 180 pills were produced from the 55 purple dragon pattern ginseng. The success rate was more than 30%, but less than 40%. However, the last few batches of pills produced 4 pills. In this month, the people of the Thousand Spirit Sect and Cruel Sun Palace finally left. Perfected being Qi Yuan had sent Tu Yuming many messages, asking him to return. Tu Yuming had not returned for 3 months and was determined not to return to the Cruel Sun Palace. There was no point in waiting any longer. As soon as the people from the 2 sects left, the Nether Sea Immortal brought Luo Hongming out of the clear glass market and returned to the Underworld sect. Zhou Qi and Lu Jinhui did not return to the Netherworld sect. Instead, they headed to the Wanchuan market in the southern part of Qingli County. Needless to say, their purpose was to prevent Tu Yuming from escaping back to the territory of the Cruel Sun Palace. As for Shanbei, even if the Ghost sect wanted to besiege him, they were powerless. However, to return to the Crescent Sun Palace from the north of the mountain, they had to cross the Wild Goose Mountain. There were many demonic beasts in Mount Huiyen, which was north of the Cruel Sun Palace's territory. Furthermore, the Cruel Sun Palace had yet to reach an agreement with the Yao race. Going back from there was also a slim chance of survival. Wang Daoyuan continued his seclusion at the Jade Spring Peak and only came out after a month. He rode his sword straight to the 100 Rivers Lake. He didn't stop at the 100 Rivers Lake. Instead, he flew over from the Green Willow region and headed east. There were many people from the Netherworld sect in the Oasis Willow region. Wang Daoyuan was telling these spies that he was going to find Tu Yuming for revenge. Within an underground stone room in the Oasis Willow region, several Zifu disciples were gathered together. A young Zifu disciple said angrily, "That brat of the Wang clan is too arrogant. He caused us to lose our fortune. He knows that we are here, but he still dares to swagger over us. How about we take advantage of the fact that he is alone in the Heavenchopper mountain range and go kill him?" Shi Zhenbang shook his head. "You are still young and impetuous. That fortune wasn't ours to begin with. Whoever has the ability can take it. We don't have that ability." If Wang Daoyuan didn't spread the news, would you have been able to enter True Lord Hundred Spirits' estate? Wang Daoyuan still cares about His Highness and hasn't spread the news about us. Now that he's flying directly over our heads, he might have the intention of covering for us. The Wang clan isn't necessarily our enemy. Wang Daoyuan doesn't like the Sixth Prince's bloodline, after all. We are His Highness people. Acknowledging the Sixth Prince as emperor is just a temporary measure. The Sixth Prince isn't material for great things. Sooner or later, His Highness will rise to prominence. The Wang clan didn't let down the imperial family. In the past, they resisted for a longer time than our Shi clan and paid an even greater price. We don't have the right to look down on them. In the future, let's do our best to avoid conflict with the Wang clan. Instead, let's do our best to rope them in. The Zifu disciples all expressed their agreement. After Wang Daoyuan crossed the 100 Rivers Lake, Wang Daoyuan released over 1,000 soul-chasing bees to scout the surroundings. The matter of the soul-chasing bees had already been made clear. The Myriad Spirits sect didn't care, so it didn't matter if they took them out in the open. After crossing the 100 Rivers Lake, Wang Daoyuan randomly found a few places and stopped to search, as if he was looking for something. Afterwards, he arrived at Tu Yuming's hiding place. Tu Yuming had a soul-binding silk cloak and was hiding in a demonic beast cave. He wasn't discovered by any high-tier demonic beasts. Wang Daoyuan stored him back into the space within the Soul Pearl. His clone Li Qingxuan was already over 230 years old. His previous clones were either outside or at the end of their lifespans. Tu Yuming was temporarily in the space within the Soul Pearl, helping to take care of the spirit fields. After his cultivation reached the late-stage Zifu realm, he would be allowed to explore the path that the 10,000 Corpse Daoist master took to cross the Heaven/Mountain range. After retrieving his doppelganger, Wang Daoyuan continued to head east for more than 100 miles, pretending to investigate a few places. He didn't dare to continue east and instead headed south. In addition to storing his clone, he also had to search for a rank 3 demonic beast. The bloodfire hibiscus planted in the space within the Soul Pearl had already grown. A few sprouts were still useless, but the branches cut from the tree on the Treasure Cauldron Mountain could barely be used to refine the vermilion bird fan. Wang Daoyuan had his clone transplant 1 big and 3 small bloodfire hibiscus to the side of the Scarlet Yang Truefire. After all, it was a fire attribute spirit wood, and the bloodfire hibiscus was related to the legendary hibiscus. It just so happened that the Scarlet Yang Truefire was also related to the Golden Crow and the bloodfire hibiscus. The two complemented each other and continued to grow in the space of the spirit orb. In addition, there was also the egg of the Scarlet Feathered Crow. After hatching, it could more or less display some of the effects of the Golden Crow. It might even transform into the real hibiscus wood and the Sun Truefire. There was no lack of spirit wood to refine the vermilion bird fan, but there was only one wood attribute natal tail feather. He had to find the other 4 as soon as possible. Although there were few rank 3 demonic beasts with natal tail feathers, there were many demonic beasts within the range of the Heaven/Mountain range. To refine the vermilion bird fan, There was only a requirement for the natal tail feathers attribute. The type didn't matter. He now had the windfire flying kite, and its speed could catch up to most rank 3 demonic beasts. It wouldn't be too difficult to find natal tail feathers of the 5 elements. After Wang Daoyuan flew more than 1,000 kilometers due south, he was warned by a few waves of demonic beasts. This place was only about 2,000 kilometers away from the main vein of the heaven/mountain range. Any mountain was occupied by rank 3 demonic beasts. Rank 4 demonic beasts all lived in the main vein. As long as it wasn't a golden core cultivator trespassing into the range of the heaven/mountain range, they couldn't be bothered. However, rank 3 superior grade demonic beasts were not to be trifled with. If he continued to fly along here, he might provoke a demonic beast with a bad temper. It would also be big trouble. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. He changed direction and flew southwest. Along the way, his luck wasn't too good. He only encountered terrestrial demonic beasts and not demonic beasts. He continued to fly southwest. After a few hours, he arrived at the Wanchuan River. At this moment, he was only about 3,000 kilometers away from the main vein of the heaven/mountain range. The Wanchuan River was indeed the largest river in Beiyuan Xiaoxian. It was also the only river that could cross the heaven/mountain range and flow east into the sea. This river that gathered tens of thousands of rivers was already more than 100 kilometers wide. Even though there was no wind, the river surface was still surging with waves. Occasionally, rank 3 and rank 3 aquatic demonic beasts would jump out of the water and chase each other. The river was extremely deep, and there were also many demonic beasts in the river. There were even rank 4 demonic beasts at the bottom of the river. Dragon species could also be seen occasionally. Even golden core cultivators didn't dare to go down to the bottom of the river to investigate. Ordinary people stood on the shore and looked to the other side. They couldn't see the other side at all. It was no different from looking at the sea. Chapter 432. This place was still more than 2,000 miles away from Wanchuan Market, but Wang Daoyuan ran into 3 acquaintances here. These 3 people were respectively Zhou Qi, Lu Jinhui, and Su Tingxian. They were probably sent by the sect over there to besiege and slaughter Yuming. At this time, the 3 people were currently discussing something on a mountain top. Su Tingxuan's family was near Wanchuan Market. The Su family was also considered a local bully here. Rooted in the southern part of Clearglass Prefecture for several hundred years, their relationship with the local families was intertwined. Back then, when the Wang family was powerful and prosperous, they also had a marriage alliance with the Su family. With him helping here when mobilizing manpower and resources, it was easier to get the support of the local families. The Netherworld sect was still very lenient toward the families in the southern part of Clearglass Prefecture. After all, this place was adjacent to the Myriad Spirit sect's territory. If the local families were forced into a corner and directly submitted to the Myriad Spirit sect, the Netherworld sect would not even have time to cry. Therefore, the old families here had much better days than the Wang family in the past. Seeing acquaintances, Wang Daoyuan naturally had to go forward and greet. The 3 people had all worked together with Wang Daoyuan before. Seeing him come over, they also greeted him warmly. Zhou Qi clasped his hands and said, "What a coincidence, Steward Wang, to even be able to run into you here." Wang Daoyuan also returned the greeting with a smile and said, "3 elders are here. It's also in order to slaughter Yuming, right?" Zhou Qi smiled and said, "In that case, Steward Wang is the same too?" Wang Daoyuan had an appearance of lingering anger on his face. "The Yuanying inheritance that was in my hands is gone, and my little life was almost lost inside. Suffering such a huge loss, how can I easily let him off? Look, I just repaired my life-bound magic artifact and entered the heavenly/mountain range to search for this kid's whereabouts." Lu Jinhui also asked, "I wonder if Steward Wang discovered anything?" Wang Daoyuan shook his head. "I really don't know where this grandson hid. I released soul-chasing bees and searched all the way from the east of 100 Rivers Lake to this Wanchuan riverside, but I couldn't find any traces of him either. Elders, have you discovered anything?" Su Tingxian shook his head and said with a sigh, "The three of us recruited many people in Wanchuan Market to monitor the river and enter the heavenly/mountain range to investigate. After a few months, we still haven't found any trace of him." The three of them were helpless. They stayed in the heaven/mountain range all day long and had to be on guard against the attacks of demonic beasts at all times. They had no time to cultivate at all. Wang Daoyuan was naturally indifferent. The one they wanted to capture was Tu Yuming. What did that have to do with him? He asked the three of them, "Daoyu, have you found any dragon seeds here? I want to refine the azure dragon pearl, but this thing needs a pseudo-dragon pearl. Since I've come to the Wanchuan River, I thought I might as well look for it." The three of them shook their heads. Su Tingxian advised, "Although there are dragon species appearing in the lower reaches of the Wanchuan River, it's not a regular pattern. Sometimes it would be seen once in a few years, and sometimes it would be seen once in a few hundred years. If he wanted to find the dragon seed here, he would have to go to the bottom of the river. Even Jindan cultivators wouldn't dare to go down to the bottom of this river, much less us Sifu disciples. Manager Wang is still too impatient. You've only established your Violet Palace for a few years, but you've already refined 2 life-bound magic artifacts. In my opinion, you should focus on your cultivation. You can put your life-bound magic artifacts aside first." Zhou Qi also agreed, "Manager Su is right. You're only about 140 years old. It's a good time to improve your cultivation. It's never too late to refine your life-bound magic artifacts. Don't waste too much of your cultivation time on them. You might think that cultivation is easy now, but it won't be so easy to improve your cultivation after you're 300 years old." Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your reminder. I'll focus on my cultivation in the future and won't spend too much time on my life-bound magic artifacts. I'll search along the north bank of the Wanchuan River. If I can find any traces of the dragon seed, I'll investigate it thoroughly. If I can't find it, I'll return to my family to cultivate. Elders, I won't keep you company." After bidding farewell to the three of them, Wang Daoyuan flew east on his sword. As the largest river in Beiyuan Xiuxian, the Wanchuan River gathered the spiritual energy of countless spirit springs and water spirit veins. Where there were no spirit veins, the water in the river was comparable to the water of a middle low-grade Tier 2 spirit spring. If it weren't for the harassment of aquatic demon beasts, any place on the banks of the Wanchuan River could be used as the foundation of a foundation establishment family. There was no lack of spirit veins at the bottom of the river. Tier 2 water spirit veins were as plentiful as the hairs on an ox, and Tier 3 spirit veins were not rare either. In this section of the river east of the Wanchuan Market, there was a middle-grade Tier 4 water spirit vein at the bottom of the river. There were definitely many water attribute demon beasts in this place. It was hard to say if he could find the dragon seed, but it shouldn't be difficult to find water attribute demon beasts. After traveling more than 1,000 miles to the east, Tier 3 demon beasts were already very common. If he continued to fly on his sword, it would be easy to be attacked by a group of demon beasts. He put away his flying sword, put on the soul-binding silk cloak, and found a hidden place to hide. He released the soul-chasing bees to search for water attribute demon beasts nearby. There were many water attribute demon beasts, but it wasn't easy to find one with a life-bound feather. This place was less than 2,000 miles away from the sky/mountain range and close to the Wanchuan River. There were many demon beasts and demon beasts. Every time he released the soul-chasing bees, only 1 out of 10 would return. In more than a month, he had lost thousands of soul-chasing bees. Fortunately, the queen bee reproduced quickly and had the time acceleration function of the spirit pearl's space. Losing a few hundred soul-chasing bees a day wouldn't cause a shortage of soul-chasing bees. However, these soul-chasing bees didn't die in vain. Wang Daoyuan had some understanding of the distribution of demon beasts in the sky/mountain range on the north bank of the Wanchuan River. There was no way to investigate the situation within 1,000 miles of the sky/mountain range's main vein. None of the soul-chasing bees that entered returned alive. There were many demon beasts between 1,000 to 2,000 miles away from the main vein. The spirit chi here was also more abundant. A Tier 3 demon beast could satisfy its cultivation needs by occupying a territory of a few miles. Therefore, all kinds of demon beasts were very concentrated. More than 1,700 miles away from the sky/mountain range's main vein on the north bank of the Wanchuan River, there was a forest with a radius of 200 miles. There were dozens of Tier 3 demon beasts living in the forest, and more than 10 of them were dark feather storks. Dark feather storks were Tier 3 water attribute demon beasts. The highest cultivation level they could reach was Tier 3 upper grade. They liked to hunt all kinds of spirit fish. It was normal for such demon beasts to exist on both banks of the Wanchuan River. According to the soul-chasing bees report, a few of the dark feather storks were underage Tier 2 demon beasts. There were a total of 7 adult Tier 3 demon beasts. One of them was a Tier 3 middle-grade demon beast. The soul-chasing bees' intelligence was lower than demon beasts of the same rank. They couldn't clearly describe the characteristics of this Tier 3 middle-grade dark feather stork. According to their description, this Tier 3 middle-grade dark feather stork was different from the others. It had a feather on its tail that was much longer than the other tail feathers. Moreover, this tail feather had an extremely strong spirit energy fluctuation. It seemed that this dark feather stork had a life feather. He recalled all the soul-chasing bees and used the aura-concealing art to conceal his presence. He walked towards the east. Soon, he arrived near the place where the dark feather storks were gathered. When he was about 20 miles away from the dark feather storks, he used his divine sense to carefully observe the Tier 3 middle-grade dark feather stork. This dark feather stork wasn't big. Its wingspan was less than 20 feet, and its tail feather was only about a foot long. However, there was one tail feather that was close to 3 feet long. It contained a large amount of water attribute spirit energy. This tail feather was indeed a life feather. The divine sense of a demon beast was far inferior to that of a human cultivator. At this distance, Wang Daoyuan could use his divine sense to detect the dark feather stork, but the dark feather stork wouldn't be able to sense his presence. Moreover, these dark feather storks were just a group of the same species. They didn't have much of a relationship with each other. However, if he wanted to obtain the life feather, he had to take down this Tier 3 middle-grade dark feather stork. There were dozens of Tier 3 demon beasts nearby. Once he made a move, he would definitely be surrounded. Even if it was a one-on-one battle, Wang Daoyuan would have to put in a lot of effort to take down a Tier 3 middle-grade demon beast with a life feather without damaging its life feather. If he wanted to obtain the life feather under the siege of dozens of Tier 3 demon beasts, he would have to rely on his wits. Chapter 433. Wang Daoyuan hid nearby and observed the movements of the rank 3 dark feather stork. Demonic beasts weren't like humans who could cultivate all kinds of cultivation techniques. Rank 1 demonic beasts could only absorb spiritual energy by eating spiritual items or staying in places with dense spiritual energy. On the other hand, rank 2 demonic beasts could also absorb spiritual energy from heaven and earth. Some rank 2 demonic beasts with high-grade bloodlines could even increase their cultivation by developing their bloodline. Rank 3 demonic beasts already had high intelligence and generally knew simple breathing techniques that were similar to the basic cultivation techniques of human cultivators. However, this breathing technique couldn't be compared to the cultivation techniques of human cultivators in the Violet Palace realm. Apart from a few descendants of divine beasts that could increase their cultivation speed by developing their bloodline, there were no other demonic beasts. The cultivation speed of other demonic beasts couldn't be compared to humans. Even rank 4 demonic beasts like the bloodthirsty ashwolf had a simple cultivation technique. Rank 3 demonic beasts mainly relied on eating spiritual items to increase their cultivation. Although this rank 3 dark feather stork had a natal feather, it definitely had a high-grade bloodline. However, it still couldn't increase its cultivation without consuming spiritual items, so it was inevitable that it would leave the group to hunt for food. Wang Daoyuan hid here for 5 to 6 days and discovered that the dark feather stork would go to the Myriad Rivers River to hunt for food every morning. The section of the river where it hunted for food didn't change much. It had always been on the north bank, near the mouth of a small stream that flowed into the Myriad Rivers River. He might be surrounded if he tried to deal with it in the forest, but it was much safer in the river. When it hunted for food, the demonic beasts were scattered and couldn't provide support quickly. Although it would alarm the demonic beasts in the water, their speed wasn't very good. It might be difficult to get rid of the demonic beasts, but it was effortless to get rid of the aquatic demonic beasts. When the sky was about to brighten, Wang Daoyuan quietly went into the water and laid in ambush at the mouth of the river. He used his spiritual sense to control a few spiritual fish that the dark feather stork loved to eat and had them swim near the ambush location. The sky quickly brightened and the tall sky-chopping mountain range covered the sun. However, the clouds in the sky were already golden from the sunlight. There was a layer of mist floating on the surface of the river. A clump of seaweed swayed in the water and a few small fish swam between the seaweed. Under the seaweed, Wang Daoyuan was hiding a sinister smile on his face. As expected, this level 3 middle-grade dark feather stork came to the mouth of the river to look for food as usual. It saw several fish swimming near the place where Wang Daoyuan was lying in ambush and slowly approached. Wang Daoyuan had the Forbidden God cloak and was using the spirit concealment art. It was almost impossible for a demon bird like the dark feather stork, which did not specialize in detection, to discover him. Soon, the black feather stork was only 2 to 3 zhang away from Wang Daoyuan. Now was not the time to make a move. The water by the shore was shallow, and only half of the ink feather stork's long legs were covered by the water. If he were to make a move now, the ink feather stork would be able to fly away with a flap of its wings. It was very difficult to catch a demonic bird in the air. There was also the possibility of being surrounded by dozens of demonic birds. Wang Daoyuan controlled the small fishes and made them continue to escape into the deep water. How could the ink feather stork let the delicacy in front of it escape? He hurriedly took a few steps into the deep water. At this time, he had already reached Wang Daoyuan's side. In order to hide, Wang Daoyuan did not have time to use his spirit energy. He reached out and grabbed the ink feather stork's long legs. With Wang Daoyuan's physical strength, he was still far from being able to deal with large land and water demonic beasts. But bullying these demonic birds did not take much effort. The ink feather stork flapped its wings and wanted to escape. Wang Daoyuan used the water dragon technique to entangle it. The ink feather stork's slender beak emitted intense spirit energy waves as it pecked at Wang Daoyuan's head. Wang Daoyuan summoned the black tortoise shield to protect his head. Water attribute demonic birds were similar to water attribute cultivators. Their attack power was not too strong, and the black tortoise shield easily blocked the attack. The ink feather stork flapped its wings and the water surged. Huge waves crashed towards Wang Daoyuan, and the water dragon was also scattered by its wings. These waves were not to be underestimated. If he was hit by them, he would probably be seriously injured. At this moment, whirlpools appeared under the water and he was about to be sucked in. Wang Daoyuan had indeed underestimated the ink feather stork. Although the Wang clan's water dragon technique was very suitable for fighting in water, his half-baked water dragon technique was not as good as the ink feather stork in water. If he continued to waste time and alerted the nearby demonic birds and water demonic beasts, he would be in danger. He summoned the soul-extinguishing bell and rang it beside the ink feather stork. After 5 rings, the ink feather stork lost its ability to resist. The battle and the bell had alerted the surrounding demonic birds and water demonic beasts. Wang Daoyuan did not have the time to preserve its soul. He summoned the white tiger blade and beheaded it. He put the ink feather stork's corpse into the spirit pearl space and handed it over to his clone to deal with. Tu Yuming was also a 3rd-tier lower-grade refiner, and his alchemy level was also 2nd-tier middle grade. The cruel Sun Palace focused on refining. Body refinement cultivators had strong bodies and were suitable for forging. It was very common for them to practice refining. For a 3rd-tier lower-grade refiner, dealing with the ink feather stork's corpse was not a problem at all. He placed the ink feather stork's life origin feather beside the Gui water death flame and slowly nourished it. The vermilion bird fan was used to control these spiritual flames. It was very suitable to use the spiritual flames to nourish the refining materials. Of the other parts, only the feather and demonic core had some value. The demonic bird's body was weak, and the value of refining it was not high. Wang Daoyuan wanted to use the cloud escape to escape in the water. However, the water demonic beasts had already surrounded him. If he continued to stay in the water, he would soon be surrounded. He summoned the wind-fire flying kite, injected spiritual energy into it, and flew west. When he just took off, there were water demonic beasts leaping out of the water, wanting to swallow him in one bite. The demonic birds nearby were alerted by him and chased after him. Fortunately, the wind-fire flying kite was fast, and water attribute demonic birds were not known for their speed. After the demonic birds chased for more than 1,000 miles, they saw that they could not catch up and dispersed. However, the commotion caused by this caused Zhou Qi and the other two who were searching for Tu Yuming to jump in fright. In order to avoid becoming the target of the demonic bird's anger, they immediately fled in other directions. After shaking off the demonic birds, Wang Daoyuan met 3 more people. Zhou Qi immediately went forward and asked, "Steward Wang, what happened? How did you provoke such a large group of demonic birds?" Zhou Qi was a little angry. He was almost targeted by the demonic birds attracted by Wang Daoyuan. Anyone would be angry. They did not have a flying magic weapon like the wind-fire flying kite that could compete with the demonic birds in speed. Once targeted, there was almost no hope of escaping. Wang Daoyuan did not take the previous danger seriously and said with a smile, "When I was searching for the dragon seed, I provoked a demonic bird. As a result, a large group of demonic birds chased after me. If not for the flying magic weapon that Master gave me, I'm afraid I would have died here." Su Tingxian advised, "It's better not to search for the dragon seed here. I heard that the dragon seed appears in the hidden dragon river of the Zhou country every few decades. There are not as many demonic beasts there as here, so it's safer. You can go there and try your luck. It's better than looking for a needle in a haystack. This time, you only provoked a group of demonic birds. If it gets out of hand, it will provoke a beast tide. I'm afraid the entire Qingli County will suffer. If the sect master and the grand elders blame us, I'm afraid the Wang family will not be able to bear it." Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your reminder, Steward Su. I will not come here to try my luck again in the future. The demonic beasts and demonic birds in the Wanchuan River are indeed too crazy." Along the way, there were hundreds of rank 3 demonic beasts and demonic birds that wanted to attack me. In the future, if I want to find materials for refining weapons and pills, I will try my best to avoid this place. Now that this matter is over, I will not stay any longer and will return to the family. Goodbye. After bidding farewell to the 3 people, Wang Daoyuan rode the wind-fire flying kite in the north direction. At a speed of more than 5,000 miles per hour, he returned to the Jade Spring Peak in 4 to 5 hours. Not long after arriving at the Jade Spring Peak, he received a message from Zhou Luan. The content of the message was also very simple. There were only 5 words. "What about your promise?" Chapter 434. Seeing Zhou Luan's letter, Wang Daoyuan was a little confused. He really couldn't remember what promise he made to Zhou Luan. He definitely couldn't send a letter to ask. Even if he forgot, he had to pretend that he didn't. He only sent a letter to Zhou Luan, saying that he would go to Beiyuan Market in a few days. After staying at Jade Spring Peak for 2 days, he went to Jade Pine Mountain. Then he quietly slipped away from Jade Pine Mountain and went to Beiyuan Market's Blood Shadow branch. After entering Zhou Luan's cave, he only heard the sound of Guqin coming from the boudoir. After Wang Daoyuan reincarnated to Beiyuan Xiaoxian, he hadn't heard the sound of Guqin for more than 100 years. When the Zhao family was still around, they only liked military music and didn't care about Guqin. The Zhou nation liked music and etiquette. As a distant member of the Zhou imperial family, Zhou Luan knew how to play the Guqin. However, this song was a little familiar. It was very similar to the ancient song of Wuxia in his previous life, High Mountain and Flowing Water. He always felt that the world Beiyuan Xiaoxian was in was related to the world in his previous life. Even the words were very similar. The words in this world were a little similar to the Xiaozhuan of Wuxia in his previous life, but they were simplified. It wouldn't be strange if the instruments were similar. After all, The principles of similar instruments were similar. However, it was strange that this song was so similar. If the two worlds weren't related, it was unlikely that this would happen. Wang Daoyuan quickly walked into the garden of Zhou Luan's boudoir. At this time, Zhou Luan was sitting by the spring in the garden with a guqin in front of her. This guqin was no different from the Fuxi-style guqin in his previous life. He asked, "Are you playing high mountain and flowing water?" Hearing this, Zhou Luan was stunned. This is a song passed down in the Zhou family. Zhao nation doesn't have any etiquette. How do you know? Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan didn't ask any more questions. Since it was passed down in the family, what could she, a distant member of the Zhou family, know? Could it be that the ancestor of the Zhou family also came from Wuxia? If he had the chance in the future, he could dig up a few ancestral tombs of the Zhou royal family and see if he could find anything. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "There are records of this song in some ancient books that I collected." Zhou Luan naturally saw that he was lying, but she didn't press the issue. Which cultivator didn't have a few secrets? Trying to get to the bottom of things would only be annoying. She grumbled, "Back then, you said you would help me modify my natal dermic artifact. It's been a few months since you received true Monarch 100 Spirits inheritance, but you still haven't come to fulfill your promise. Don't tell me you've forgotten." It was only then that Wang Daoyuan remembered that when he had asked her for the location of the 100 Spirits Immortal's cave abode, she had promised to help him modify his natal Dharma artifact. However, of course, he could not tell the truth. He smiled and said, "Didn't I fail miserably at such an easy task? I was schemed against by Tu Yuming. Not only did he lose the inheritance that he had obtained, he was also heavily injured, and his artifact was also severely damaged. In the past few months, I've been recuperating and repairing artifacts." Zhou Luan looked at him with a smile that was not a smile and asked, "Do you think you can fool me? When the news of you being schemed against by Tu Yuming first came, I was really a little worried. Later, I collected some information about Tu Yuming and didn't believe it at all. Tu Yuming is just a brute with a little brain. You're smarter when you're asleep than when he's awake. It's more likely that you schemed against him. In a head-on battle, his strength can only be considered above average among those of the same level. He's far inferior to me and is not your opponent at all. It should be you who used a secret technique to control Tu Yuming and put on a show. However, you really do have the ability to fool so many golden core cultivators." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Hall Master is wise. You saw through this subordinate's little trick. Didn't I come to refine your natal Dharma artifact? This subordinate still has one thing I don't understand. When you were sparring with me before, you took out the Fire Divine Lightning Pearl. It sealed at least the 6th level of the Fire Divine Lightning. Does Blood Shadow have the Fire Divine Lightning magic art?" Zhou Luan replied, "It seems that you really got the spiritual fire left behind by the 100 Spirits Supreme. The power of the Red Yang Real Fire combined with the Fire Divine Lightning is indeed powerful. Blood Shadow does have the Fire Divine Lightning, but it's not complete. It can only be cultivated to the 6th level at most. I also cultivated it back then, but I only cultivated to the 3rd level. After that, I was pushed out of the headquarters. With Elder Su suppressing me, I couldn't exchange for the cultivation method anymore." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was a little disappointed. It seems that this bowl of soft rice can't be eaten. Even Blood Shadow doesn't have the complete 5 elements divine lightning. How did Zhao family get it back then? I actually know this. I heard that Zhao family's ancestor obtained the inheritance of an ancient cultivator and obtained the complete 10th water divine lightning. If you want the complete fire divine lightning, you can go find some ancient cultivator's cave to try your luck." Wang Daoyuan shook his head and said, "Forget it. I still want to gather the materials to refine magic tools and find the spiritual fire. I don't have so much time to try my luck. Give me your life-bound magic tools refining method. Also, give me that spell visualization diagram that can resonate with the Purple Mansion's vision. Without the visualization diagram, I don't have the ability to modify a magic tool suitable for you." Zhou Luan took out a few beast skin books and 2 jade slips. She said, This is the Fire Phoenix Flowing Flame Sword and the Red Phoenix Divine Fire Technique. The visualization diagram of the Fire Phoenix Flowing Flame Sword will be modified according to the visualization diagram of the Red Phoenix Divine Fire Technique. During the modification of the magic tool, stay in my cave. You're not allowed to run around until the modification is complete. Wang Daoyuan smiled and asked, "A man and a woman alone in a room, that's not very good, right? It doesn't matter if I suffer a little loss. If my reputation as a gentleman is ruined, then so be it. I've never sought an undeserved reputation. But if I ruin Hall Master's reputation, then I'll have committed a great sin." His face was filled with excitement, and there wasn't the slightest bit of unwillingness. Zhou Luan glanced at him and said, "Staying in the same room? Dream on. Go to the front yard of the cave. Without my orders, you're not allowed to enter the backyard." He had no choice. Living off a woman meant that he couldn't straighten his back. In the future, he still had to rely on her to gather information, so he naturally had to listen to her. He took the beast skin books and jade slips to the front yard and began to check the contents of the 2 jade slips. However, Wang Daoyuan had also profited greatly. The Fire Phoenix Flowing Flame Sword was obviously the Zhou clan's inheritance. As for the Red Phoenix Divine Fire Technique, it was much better than Shizhenbang's Fire Phoenix. Without any effort, these 2 inheritances fell into his hands. He carefully compared the differences between the 2 visualization diagrams, then compared them with the Fire Phoenix Flowing Flame Sword's tool pattern to determine which tool pattern needed to be modified. After nearly half a year, Wang Daoyuan finally analyzed the tool pattern of the Fire Phoenix Flowing Flame Sword. The next step was to modify the tool pattern, which was the biggest problem. He didn't have the knowledge of Lei Yanzhenren, who was able to successfully modify the 5 elements Devil Suppression Seal in one try and even add new functions. He could only deduce a few of the most reliable plans and try them out one by one. After spending 3 years and 5 or 6 attempts, he finally managed to refine a reliable middle-grade 3rd-tier magic tool. After Zhou Luan recognized the sword as its owner, she exchanged a few moves with Wang Daoyuan and found that there were no problems with its functions. To be able to reach this step, it was basically certain that the modification plan was correct. Zhou Luan summoned her natal magic tool and handed it to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan began to modify the Fire Phoenix Flowing Flame Sword shape. After all, the tool pattern's appearance and materials were compatible with each other. The Fire Phoenix and the Red Phoenix were both of the Fire Phoenix clan, so the difference between them was very small. There was no need to refine it again, nor was there a need to increase the materials. Zhou Luan had already refined the Fire Phoenix Flowing Flame Sword to the point where it was connected with her mind. If she were to refine it again, all the previous results would be wasted. After a simple modification of the sword shape, Zhou Luan used her divine sense to condense part of the tool pattern. The energy expended was equivalent to repairing a damaged natal Dharma artifact. Most of the previous foundation would still be preserved and wouldn't affect the connection between the user and the natal magic tool. After the modification of the sword shape was completed, Wang Daoyuan handed the magic tool and the new refining method to Zhou Luan. Others couldn't interfere with the condensation of the tool pattern, only the owner of the magic tool could do it. Chapter 435. Zhou Luan had to modify some of the patterns on her life-bound magic artifact and get used to it again. She would need at least a few months. Wang Daoyuan naturally couldn't stay idle either. He consumed a purple rhythm pill and meditated in the front courtyard of Zhou Luan's abode. Guiyan Market's low-grade 3rd-tier attributeless spirit vein was more suitable for Wang Daoyuan's cultivation than Jade Spring Peak's high-grade 3rd-tier water attribute spirit vein. Half a year later, the cry of a Luan and a phoenix could be heard from the rear courtyard of Zhou Luan's abode. Soon after, Zhou Luan's arrogant voice could be heard. "Brat surnamed Wang, come and eat this Hall Master's sword." Wang Daoyuan woke up from his meditative state and laughed. 2 Zifu realm cultivators are sparring. "Lord Hallmaster, do you not want your abode anymore?" Zhou Luan replied, "Cut the crap. I was unconvinced when I lost to you last time. Now that my life-bound magic artifact is able to resonate with my Zifu realm, I've vented my anger. There's also a stone room below the abode that specializes in practicing magic. It's set up with a high-grade third-tier formation. With your ability, you won't be able to break it. Wang Daoyuan also wanted to experience more of the Scarlet Luan's charm. It would be of great help to him in comprehending the charm of the 5 elements divine beast. He stood up and walked into the rear courtyard of the abode. Zhou Luan brought him to the side of a rockery in the garden. The entrance to the stone room for practicing magic was within this rockery. Wang Daoyuan followed Zhou Luan down the cave entrance. Soon, they arrived at an underground space that was over 1,000 feet in diameter and over 100 feet in height. Wang Daoyuan laughed. Lord Hallmaster, I'll condense the phantom of the 5 elements devil-subduing seal. You can use your life-bound magic artifact to attack it. The attack of an ordinary middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator can only cause the phantom to tremble slightly. Zhou Luan was somewhat unconvinced. My life-bound magic artifact resonates with the Zifu realm phenomenon. With the addition of the Scarlet Luan's charm, my strength is comparable to an ordinary late-stage Zifu realm cultivator. Just don't blame me for bullying the weak. Wang Daoyuan condensed the phantoms of 5 magical artifacts and combined the 5 elements into one to form the 5 elemental demon suppression seal. Then the white tiger blade and the black tortoise shield merged into it. The great seal's shadow did not lock onto its target, but Zhou Luan felt a great deterrent force. She asked, "There's something wrong with your 5 elements devil-slaying seal. It's very different from the sacrificial refining method that Blood Shadow stole from the underworld sect. The Golden Core elders of the Blood Shadow also deduced the sacrificial refining method. Logically speaking, with your cultivation at the initial stage of the Violet Palace realm, it's impossible for you to exert such formidable might. Furthermore, only when all 5 Dharma artifacts were complete could the Dharma artifacts be fused into the shadow. You only have 2 artifacts, so you can fuse them together. Did you improve the sacrificial refining method?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "This 5 elements devil-subduing seal was created by a golden core cultivator. How would I have the ability to improve it? I also have to thank you for your reminder. The sacrificial refining method that the underworld sect kept should have been artificially deleted by someone and hidden some underhanded tricks, so its might was naturally greatly reduced. When I went to the treasured Cauldron Mountain, I asked Master for help to restore this sacrificial refining method. A complete sacrificial refining method would naturally be much more powerful. Lord Hallmaster, please make your move." Zhou Luan took out her natal magic artifact. This longsword had been modified, and the embossment and artifact's original form had changed from a fire phoenix to a scarlet luan. She held the sword with both hands, and fire attribute spiritual power surged all over her body. Then, the Scarlet Luan embossment on the longsword seemed to come alive, and a Scarlet Luan image formed by flames flew out of the embossment. Zhou Luan's glabella shone with purple light and emitted the cry of a Luan bird. The Scarlet Luan image also cried out and pounced towards Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan controlled the devil-slaying seal and released a suppressive force towards the Scarlet Luan image. The Scarlet Luan let out a mournful cry as its aura was suppressed, and the might of its flames was greatly reduced. Soon, the Scarlet Luan pounced onto the devil-slaying seal. The seal's image trembled violently, but it did not show any signs of collapsing. The Scarlet Luan image was reduced to nothing under the seal's suppression. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Lord Hallmaster, do you still want to continue the competition?" Zhou Luan was completely defeated in the competition, and she snorted coldly. "You have 2 magic artifacts, and I only have the Scarlet Luan flowing flame sword. You're bullying me with numbers, and it's an unfair victory." Wang Daoyuan naturally would not argue with her. He put away his magic artifact and smiled. "Lord Hallmaster is right. If I only use the white tiger blade, I'm definitely not your opponent. You've already comprehended the Scarlet Luan's charm, and I'm still far from it. I would like to ask for your guidance on the technique of comprehending a divine beast's charm." After hearing Wang Daoyuan's flattery, Zhou Luan's mood improved. "You're quite sensible. If we're talking about comprehending a divine beast's charm, I'm #1 among the blood wolves. In less than 10 years after I established my violet palace, I comprehended the Scarlet Luan's charm. Those cultivators with heavenly spiritual roots and spirit bodies are also incomparable to me. I even combined the experiences of my predecessors and created a secret technique. But I can't possibly take out such an important thing for free, right? Wang Daoyuan was already used to her money-grubbing nature. Just tell me what you want. If I can afford it, I won't refuse. Zhou Luan nodded. She was very satisfied with Wang Daoyuan's attitude. Straightforward. I only want 30, no, 50 purple rhyme pills. You have the 5 elements divine beast's image. Once you learn this secret technique, you'll quickly comprehend the charm of the 5 elements divine beast. At that time, the power of your 5 elements devil subduing seal will greatly increase. Maybe when you reach the late-stage Violet Palace realm, you'll be able to kill early-stage Golden Core cultivators. With such great benefits, what are 50 purple rhyme pills? Don't tell me you don't have any purple rhyme pills. You secretly ate a few before. Wang Daoyuan glanced at her. What a money grubber. You weren't so eloquent before. Why do you sound like a profiteer now? Then he took out 5 jade pill bottles. Each bottle contained 10 purple rhyme pills. I obtained some purple rhyme dragon-patterned ginseng from the 100 Spirits True Monarch's herb garden and refined them into purple rhyme pills. You helped me spread the news for free. Now that I've made a fortune, I naturally can't forget about the hall master. Zhou Luan took the pill bottle and handed a jade slip to Wang Daoyuan. She smiled and said, "Didn't I learn this glib tongue from you? These past few years, I've often chatted with you. No one else dares to talk to me." After that, Wang Daoyuan continued to stay in Zhou Luan's cave residence. It was better to have Zhou Luan's guidance if he wanted to comprehend the divine beast's charm. Wang Daoyuan was currently refining the white tiger blade. If he could comprehend the divine charm of the white tiger blade, his offensive power would increase greatly. This secret technique that Zhou Luan created could be considered a special Violet Palace resonance technique. By using the Violet Palace anomaly to resonate with magic tools or spells, the Violet Palace anomaly would be constantly activated. When the Violet Palace anomaly resonated, it would reveal a trace of divine power. However, the Violet Palace resonance consumed a lot of spiritual sense. Although it was beneficial to comprehend the divine charm, it consumed a lot of spiritual sense and put a lot of pressure on the soul. Zhou Luan's secret technique was special in that it could use a small amount of spiritual sense to activate the Violet Palace anomaly. This special Violet Palace resonance couldn't give the natal magic tool too much power, so it wasn't practical in battle. However, it was extremely suitable for comprehending the divine charm. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense was strong. In addition, he had the inky jade lotus seed, so the consumption of spiritual sense wasn't much of a problem. He would use the secret technique 3 to 4 times a day. When he felt tired, he would meditate and circulate the 5-spirit immortal transformation technique to raise his cultivation level and let his soul rest. 3 years later, Wang Daoyuan used the secret technique to activate the white tiger anomaly on his Violet Palace anomaly. At this time, the white tiger blade was also stored in his sea of consciousness and constantly resonated with the white tiger anomaly. The white tiger anomaly roared continuously, and the Dharma idol on the white tiger blade followed suit. After thousands of times of using the secret technique, there was finally a qualitative change. Suddenly, the white tiger anomaly's eyes emitted a dazzling light and let out a tiger roar. The soul hidden in the Violet Palace anomaly's eyes also emitted a dazzling light. Its body emitted an aura that made people afraid to look at it directly, as if it was a human-shaped tiger cub. Beside the soul, the small gray mist sword that represented the white tiger sword intent became more solid. The image of a white tiger faintly appeared on the sword drum and sword hilt. Chapter 436. After a moment, the white tiger avatar's radiance vanished, and the intimidating aura around Wang Daoyuan disappeared. Ever since he comprehended the white tiger sword intent, there had always been a murderous aura around him. Even if he could control the white tiger sword intent well, he couldn't completely hide the murderous aura. Now that he had comprehended the white tiger divine charm, the murderous aura was completely restrained. This was called, if the water doesn't boil, the boiling water won't make a sound. The higher the level, the more concealed the aura. Zhou Luan was originally cultivating, but she was awakened by the divine white tiger divine charm. Just as Wang Daoyuan's murderous aura was restrained, her scarlet Luan flowing flame sword was placed on Wang Daoyuan's shoulder. She questioned, "You lied to me that the inky jade lotus seeds were gone. You secretly ate a lot of them these past few years. How many seeds did you hide? Hand them over." Wang Daoyuan used the cloud escape and appeared behind Zhou Luan. He was a little speechless. "Why are you focusing on the problem in such a tricky way? Shouldn't the main point be that I have comprehended the white tiger divine charm?" Zhou Luan kept her magic artifact. "You comprehended the white tiger divine charm, and I contributed to it. Didn't you think of giving me some benefits?" Wang Daoyuan took out 10 lotus seeds and handed them to Zhou Luan. "Thank you, Hall Master, for your guidance." Zhou Luan accepted the lotus seeds with satisfaction, but she still said with disdain, "That's all?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "You are really a money grubber. When I am out traveling, I will need the lotus seeds to quickly recover my divine sense. I will only give you this much for now." Zhou Luan's smile disappeared. "Are you leaving again?" Wang Daoyuan shook his head. "I have nothing to do now. I need to cultivate to the middle stage of the Zifu realm before traveling to the southern wasteland to search for the spirit fire and the earth essence. Before I break through to the middle stage of the Zifu realm, I can cultivate anywhere. I feel that this place is not bad. The non-elemental spirit vein is very suitable for a penta-spirit vein cultivator like me. There is also a peerless beauty that is pleasing to the eye. I am not willing to leave. Lord Hallmaster, now that I have comprehended the white tiger's divine charm, do you want to spar with me again?" A smile appeared on Zhou Luan's face once again. "I don't like fighting, unlike a brute like you. I'm about to break through to the late Zifu disciple level as well. When the time comes, I'll teach you a good lesson." Wang Daoyuan had a look of disdain on his face, but Zhou Luan pretended not to see it. She arrogantly left the front courtyard and returned to her boudoir. 7 years later, a violent fluctuation of spiritual energy came from Zhou Luan's boudoir. Wisps of purple light came out from the second door. Wang Daoyuan was sitting cross-legged in the front yard of Zhou Luan's immortal cave. His body was also flickering with purple light. It had already been over 30 years since he'd established his violet palace. Although he hadn't put all his energy into increasing his cultivation, he hadn't given up on cultivating either. He had eaten nearly 100 purple rhythm pills, and his cultivation had reached the point of breaking through. A moment later, an extremely savage voice came from the backyard. "Brat surnamed Wang, see how this great ant will teach you a lesson." After saying that, Zhou Luan used her divine sense to check the front courtyard. She found that Wang Daoyuan's spiritual energy fluctuations were getting stronger and stronger. Knowing that he was about to break through, she restrained her aura and waited on the side. After a quarter of an hour, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual energy fluctuations reached the peak. The purple light also flashed. He let out a long breath and asked, "Who was the one who wanted to teach me a lesson?" Zhou Luan coldly snorted. "You didn't break through earlier or later. You just had to break through now." Wang Daoyuan took out a bottle of medicinal pills and said with a smile, "When you were in seclusion, I refined some face-retaining pills. I don't know if Lord Hallmaster is interested." The face-retaining pill was a second-rank medicinal pill. It had no use for cultivation. Just one pill could guarantee that one's appearance wouldn't change for 50 years. Upon hearing the face-retaining pill, Zhou Luan's eyes lit up. Her gloominess of not being able to teach Wang Daoyuan a lesson just now was swept away. She immediately snatched the pill bottle, poured out a medicinal pill, and carefully observed it. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "You're a Zifu cultivator. Do you need to observe medicinal pills like this?" Zhou Luan's face was full of joy. She said, "Without this face-retaining pill, I still have to consume true essence to maintain my appearance. It affects my cultivation too much. With the face-retaining pill, I can save a lot of spiritual energy. Wang Daoyuan had a helpless expression. Your cultivation speed is affected here, and you still have the mind to waste true essence to maintain your appearance? Just as he was speaking, Zhou Luan put a face-retaining pill into his mouth. What do you know? The importance of appearance is no less than cultivation base. Lest you use a fake medicinal pill to trick me, you eat one first. Right? Many of the face-retaining pill's spiritual herbs are almost extinct. Where did you get them? Wang Daoyuan said with a smile. Previously in the 100 Spirits Immortal's abode, I excavated several dozen mu of land. There just so happened to be the spiritual herbs needed for the face-retaining pill. The spiritual herbs needed for the face-retaining pill were indeed picked out from the land. The land that was excavated back then had long been cleaned up. He really did obtain quite a few good things. Apart from the face-retaining pill's spiritual herbs, there were also rank 2 spiritual grains, yellow bud millet, and jade marrow rice. The 3 mu of spiritual grains in Wang Daoyuan's spiritual pearl space had all been replaced with yellow bud millet. Jade marrow rice required spiritual spring water. It could barely be grown in the spiritual pearl space, but the harvest was not ideal. The clan's Jade Spring Peak, spiritual spring abode, and the 5 elements secret realm all had spiritual springs. It was quite good to grow jade marrow rice. This thing was very beneficial to foundation establishment cultivators. Qi condensation cultivators could even increase their cultivation if they ate it. Its effects were not much worse than spirit-gathering pills. It also did not have pill toxins. In Wang Daoyuan's storage bag, a communication jade talisman emitted waves of spiritual energy. He took out the jade talisman and checked it. Then he took out a few storage bags and 5 pill bottles and handed them to Zhou Luan, saying, "There are some matters at the clan that I need to deal with. After that, I will head to the southern wasteland to search for spiritual fire. It will probably be a long time before I come back. These are spiritual wine, dried meat, and pine nuts. There are 50 purple rhythm pills in this pill bottle. Quickly form your golden core. If you want to teach me a lesson, your current strength is not enough." Zhou Luan took the storage bag and pill bottles and nodded, "Wait until I form my golden core, then I will teach you a good lesson. When I was young, I lived in the Blood Shadow headquarters and often went in and out of the southern wasteland. The degree of danger there is no less than the heaven/mountain range. You must be careful." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Don't worry, I started to roam the heaven/mountain range when I was 20 years old. Being chased by demonic beasts is a common thing. Besides, the 5 elements devil-subduing seal is the nemesis of fiendish cultivators and demons. Fiendish cultivators below the golden core can't do anything to me. I won't run directly to the southern wasteland. Midway, I will pass by the Treasure Cauldron Mountain and ask for some life-saving things from Master. Lord Hull Master, take care. I will take my leave." He left returning Wild Goose Market and circled to Jade Song Mountain before returning to Jade Spring Peak. Once he returned to Jade Spring Peak, he went straight to the executive hall. Jiaogu and Third Brother were both here handling the clan's affairs. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Third Brother, what urgent matter made me come back?" Wang Daochang put down the jade slip in his hand and answered, "It's Yang Yulin who wants to open up his purple mansion. The Yang family's Giantwood Peak is too close to the heaven/mountain range." Recently, the rank 3 demonic beasts have been more active near the 100 Rivers Lake. And Ancestor Yang is already at the end of his rope. His spiritual power is already unstable, and his vitality is declining. If Yang Yulin attracts a rank 3 demonic beast when he opens up his purple mansion, he also doesn't have the confidence to take it down. Although Giantwood Peak has a rank 3 array formation protecting it, it will inevitably disturb Yang Yulin. Therefore, he wants you to go to Giantwood Peak to stand guard for Yang Yulin. I thought it was something big. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Guarding is just a small matter. Who knows, I might even be able to kill a few more rank 3 demonic beasts. Is there anything in the clan that needs me to handle? If there isn't, I will go to Giantwood Peak." Wang Daochang shook his head lightly. "The daily affairs of the clan can be handled by Jiaogu and me. 12th uncle and 5th granduncle can also handle the important matters. There isn't a backlog of affairs. Since that's the case, then I will go to Giantwood Peak first. Finished speaking, he rode his sword towards the southeast. Chapter 437. When Wang Daoyuan arrived at Giantwood Peak, the mountain protecting array had already been activated. The entire Giantwood Peak was covered by a red and green defensive barrier. Giantwood Peak's spirit veins were of the fire and wood attributes, so the defensive array was naturally the same. When he arrived outside the array, Yang Yong immediately instructed, "Open an entrance and let Daoyuan in." Wang Daoyuan knew in his heart that these were just polite words. Although he was half a Yang family member, he did not have much contact with them. If he really entered the array, Yang Yong would definitely not be at ease. He cupped his hands and said, "Old ancestor Yang, you don't have to do this, I'll just stand guard outside the array." Yang Yong laughed, "Then I'll have to trouble Daoyuan." Wang Daoyuan took out the wind-fire flying kite and sat cross-legged on it, floating in the air 10 miles east of Giantwood Peak. After a few hours, a purple glow started to appear on Giantwood Peak, and a few Foundation Establishment loose cultivators gathered around to watch the show. These Foundation Establishment cultivators were not much of a threat, and they did not have the guts to attack the Zifu clan's main spiritual mountain. However, when they saw Wang Daoyuan floating in the air, they took the initiative to keep their distance from Giantwood Peak. Especially the east side of Giantwood Peak, there was not a single person. Very quickly, the rank 2 demonic beasts nearby were attracted over. Wang Daoyuan did not need to care about these. The Yang family's mountain protecting array was enough to kill these demonic beasts in an instant. Their intelligence was not high enough, and they directly rushed towards Giantwood Peak. Yang Yong took out a red sword, and the demonic beasts that approached were all turned into ashes. Giantwood Peak was in the northeast direction of Hundred Rivers Lake, and was only 400 to 500 miles away from the sky/mountain range. At this distance, it would definitely attract demonic beasts. 2 hours later, a group of demonic beasts started to join in the fun. However, the demonic beasts that came were all rank 2 demonic beasts. Although they would not pose any threat to Giantwood Peak if they were left alone, the Yang family's ordinary clansmen and businesses would definitely suffer heavy losses. He was here to help, and chasing away these demonic beasts was just a small matter, so he naturally had to help to the end. Taking out the White Tiger blade, the divine White Tiger's aura was released. The group of rank 2 spirit beasts were so scared that their legs went limp. It was difficult for them to even stand up, so they could only lie on the ground and crawl back with difficulty. Rank 2 monster beasts were only worth a few spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan didn't care about them and was too lazy to pay attention to them. Soon, a demonic bird with a wingspan of more than 30 meters flew over from the east. The feathers on its head were silver-white, and the feathers on the other parts of its body were similar in color to black iron. This was an iron-winged golden condor, a metal-type demonic bird. When he flew closer, Wang Daoyuan took a closer look. He didn't find a natal feather, so there was no need for him to be polite. He didn't need to go through so much trouble for a 3rd-rank lower-grade demon bird that didn't have a natal tail feather. With a wave of his hand, the White Tiger blade transformed into a giant sword that was 100 feet long and slashed towards the iron-winged golden eagle. The huge sword was no longer like before, where it was just an illusory image and its appearance could not be seen clearly. Instead, it had become the White Tiger blade that had been enlarged several hundred times. This was a variation of the sky-slashing sword that could only be used after one had practiced it to the point of perfection. One did not need to hold the sword in one's hand to slash, but could directly control the sword to attack. In this way, the attack range would no longer be affected by the length of the giant sword. This variation was something that only existed in the Guiyuan sword manual. The incomplete manual that he had obtained previously, including the spells that he had obtained from Li Qingxuan's memories, did not have any records. Before he had comprehended the White Tiger's charm, the White Tiger sword intent was also very shallow. The power of the sky-slashing sword was not too strong, and he did not spend time to comprehend it. Now that he had the charm, the white tiger sword intent had also made great progress. The power of the sword cultivator's spells had also improved greatly. Now that he was using the white tiger blade to execute the sky-slashing sword, its power was enough to crush most cultivators of the same level. The iron-winged golden eagle was extremely agile and dodged the slash. However, although the white tiger blade was huge, it was not clumsy. Under Wang Daoyuan's control, it quickly changed direction and continued to chase. The iron-winged golden eagle's speed could not compare to the white tiger blade's speed, and it was quickly caught up. The giant white tiger blade slashed down, and the iron-winged golden eagle dodged to the side, avoiding its vital points. However, one of its wings was still cut off, and several sword chi entered the iron-winged golden eagle's body through the wound. The iron-winged golden eagle struggled for a few breaths of time before it died, and its corpse fell straight down. The white tiger blade caught the iron-winged golden eagle's corpse and the severed wing, and brought it back to Wang Daoyuan's side. Wang Daoyuan kept the corpse in his storage bag and continued to stare at the east. For hours later, the embryonic form of a purple mansion with a diameter of about 2 inches appeared on the giant wood peak, and there was no sign of a purple mansion. Yang Yulin's future path would stop at the purple mansion. The embryonic form of the purple mansion was so small, and there was no sign of a purple mansion. The hope of forming a golden core was very slim. Soon, the embryonic form of the purple mansion fell, and the purple light disappeared. Yang Yulin had successfully opened the purple mansion, and the Yang family had 2 purple mansions. However, Yang Yong had already begun to show signs of exhaustion and his spiritual power was unstable. He would pass away in a few years. The situation of 2 purple mansions could only be maintained for a few more years. The Yang family opened the array, and Wang Daoyuan also landed on the giant wood peak to express his congratulations. After chatting for a while, he bid farewell and left. He was going to leave the family and travel to the southern wasteland. He didn't know how many years it would be before he returned, and there were some things that he had to tell his family. After returning to the Jade Spring Peak, he went to the meeting hall. He took out 2 storage bags and gave them to his third brother. I'm going to leave the family and travel to the southern wasteland. These are 2 types of second-grade spiritual grains that I obtained previously. The family can plant more of them. With these, the cultivation speed of qi refining cultivators will be greatly increased. Wang Daochang received the 2 storage bags, and he was excited. These were good things that could increase the family's foundation. Soon after, Wang Daoyuan exchanged a few words with his second brother and left the meeting hall. He went to the 12th uncle's cave residence. After seeing the 12th uncle, he handed the yin-yang purple jade to him. I'm going to travel to the southern wasteland in search of the earth essence to refine the Kirin seal. This trip will take at least a dozen years, and at most a few decades. I have no use for this item, so it's better to leave it in the family. In the future, if anyone has the chance to open up the Purple Palace, they can take it out and use it. I still have a use for the Imperial Magic Pendant, so I won't keep it. The 12th uncle patted his shoulder. You've done enough for the family. It's a pity that the good things left behind by the ancestor have been used up. I can't help you now. The southern wasteland is dangerous, so be careful. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands. Ever since I left the mountain, I've spent more time in the Sky Beheading Mountain range than in the Jade Spring Peak. No matter how dangerous the southern wasteland is, it won't surpass the Sky Beheading Mountain range. Don't worry. After saying that, he left the 12th uncle's cave residence and went to the Pill Refinery Hall. He had just killed a 3rd-grade demonic bird, so he couldn't waste its demonic core. After arriving at the Pill Refinery Hall, he gathered all the 2nd-grade pill refiners. This time, he didn't refine the Foundation Establishment pill himself. Instead, he guided everyone to extract the essence of the spiritual herbs. The demonic core, Dragon Crouching Vine, and Blood Jade Ginseng were handed over to Wang Mingshan. After all the spiritual herbs' essences were extracted, Wang Mingshan fused them into one and condensed them into a pill. In the end, 4 Foundation Establishment pills were refined. This level wasn't high, but it was barely passable. In the future, when he wasn't in the family, There would be someone who could refine the Foundation establishment pill. After explaining all this, Wang Daoyuan didn't go straight to the Divine Weapon Pavilion store. Instead, he went to the Fallen Dragon Ridge. This trip to the southern wasteland, he would have to deal with fiendish cultivators. Wang Daoyuan wasn't completely ignorant about fiendish cultivators. Bai Sheng could barely be considered a fiendish cultivator. He cultivated the Tao of the blood demon, using the blood essence of humans or demonic beasts to cultivate. With Bai Sheng on this trip, it would be much more convenient to deal with fiendish cultivators. He didn't have much lifespan left. It wouldn't be long before he could return from this trip to the southern wasteland. If his clone Bai Sheng died of old age before this, the divided soul in his sea of consciousness would be gone. He sent a message to Bai Sheng, telling him to close the store, pack up all the artifacts, and meet at the Fallen Dragon Ridge. 2 days later, Bai Sheng arrived at the Fallen Dragon Ridge. Wang Daoyuan directly kept him back into the space of the spiritual pearl. Then he rushed to the clear glass market and took the Divine Weapon Pavilion's flying boat to the Treasure Cauldron Mountain. Chapter 438. 20 days later, Wang Daoyuan arrived at the Treasured Cauldron Mountain. He sent a message to Wang Daoyin, who quickly came to welcome him. The two arrived at Daoist Thunderflame's abode, where he was teaching Wang Mingting how to forge tools. Although Wang Mingting was Wang Daoyin's disciple, Daoist Thunderflame treated him as his own grandson. He didn't need Wang Daoyin's guidance in forging tools or cultivation, as he did everything himself. After arriving at Daoist Thunderflame's forging room, Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "Disciple pays his respects to master." Daoist Thunderflame scanned him with his spiritual sense and said with a smile, "Not bad, you've reached the middle stage of the Zifu realm. With your acquired spiritual body, you won't encounter any bottlenecks until you reach a major realm. In another 60 or 70 years, you should be able to attempt to form your core. Daoyin, take Mingting away first. I have some confidential matters to discuss with Daoyuan." Wang Daoyin took Wang Mingting away, and Daoist Thunderflame said with a smile, "Your fire attribute spiritual energy fluctuation contains traces of pure yang qi. You should have refined the scarlet yang true fire. Good lad, you're quite capable. You managed to deceive the 4 major powers of Beiyuan Xiuxian, as well as 2 first-rate countries. Even I was fooled by you. I was worried that you might have been tricked by Tu Yuming, so I sent people to gather information about him. I found that he wasn't much stronger than your second brother, so I knew that you'd be fine. Now that I look at you, it's as I expected. You've come to the southern wasteland to search for the metal attribute spiritual fire and the essence of earth, right?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "I can't hide anything from you, master. I've reached the middle stage of the Zifu realm, and I've even comprehended the White Tiger's charm. I'm not at a disadvantage when fighting against ordinary late-stage Zifu realm cultivators. Therefore, I want to travel to the southern wasteland. I've come to the Treasured Cauldron Mountain to see Master, and to ask Master for advice on where to find the metal attribute spiritual fire and the essence of earth. Also, I've obtained the Scarlet Feather Crow's egg in Daoist 100 Spirits abode. Its life force is still very abundant. I've nurtured it with the Scarlet Yang True Fire for more than 10 years, but it still refused to hatch." Adept Lei Yen stroked his beard and pondered for a long time before saying, "I didn't find any records of how Adept Bai Ling obtained the Scarlet-Feathered Crow back then. The Scarlet-Feathered Crow was of the fire attribute, and it also had pure Yang Qi. It was not a problem to nurture it with the Scarlet Yang True Fire. However, for the past 20,000 years, the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire could only be sustained by Earth Fire. This Scarlet-Feathered Crow egg did not lack fire attribute spiritual energy, but it might not have enough yang energy. You can use some spiritual items with abundant yang qi to supplement the yang qi of the Scarlet-Feathered Crow egg. The blood fire hibiscus outside is not bad. In a while, you can chop off a few larger branches and extract their essence. Use it to nourish the Scarlet-Feathered Crow eggs. It should be able to speed up the hatching process. As for the metal element spirit flame and the earth element essence, they are extremely rare, and I have no idea where they can be found. There were quite a few level 4 spirit veins in the southern wasteland, and the spirit qi there was much denser than in the territories of other countries. If it weren't for the violent spiritual qi, the southern wasteland would definitely be Beiyuan Xiuxian's holy land for cultivation. When the time comes, you can just look for those metal and earth attribute level 4 spirit veins. Wang Daoyuan said embarrassedly, "Thank you, Master, for clearing my doubts. I don't have any experience in fighting with devil cultivators, so I came here to ask for some methods to deal with devil cultivators." Daoist Lei Yen laughed. "That's right. There's no need to beat around the bush with Master. You're not someone who knows your place. I knew that you would enter the southern wasteland sooner or later, so I've already prepared everything for you." After saying that, he took out a purple token, a level 3 upper-grade soft armor, and 2 bottles of elixirs. Wang Daoyuan could not tell what this purple token was. He felt that it was a magic tool, but the engravings on it were not tool patterns, but talisman patterns. Daoist Lei Yen handed the items over to him and said with a smile, "You should be very confused about this purple token, right? This was created by one of our ancestors, and it's called the Purple Lightning Evil Punishing Token. This ancestor was proficient in refining tools and creating talismans. He combined the methods of refining tools and talisman techniques to create this item. This can be considered a special talisman. It's just that the materials used to refine it are rather precious, so it can be used multiple times to replenish spiritual energy. Activating the Purple Lightning Evil Punishing Token can release a purple lightning bolt. Its power is equivalent to an all-out attack from an early Aurus core stage cultivator. It can be used to deal with early Aurus core stage devil cultivators and evil cultivators. Against an early Aurus core stage cultivator, it can at most injure him. I don't have high attainments in the Tao of talismans, so I followed the instructions and created this nondescript item that can only be used 3 times. The difference in strength between Aurus core stage cultivators and Zifu stage cultivators is huge. There are many ways to dodge this purple lightning bolt. Don't rely on the Purple Lightning Evil Punishing Token to provoke early Aurus core stage cultivators. This soft armor was called the Bloodfire Purple Gold Armor. It was made from the bark of the Bloodfire hibiscus tree and the silk of the demon suppressing purple gold. These 2 materials have the ability to restrain devil cultivators and evil cultivators. Devil cultivators and evil cultivators below the Aurus core stage can't break this armor in one hit. You have the Black Tortoise shield, so you're not afraid of facing enemies head-on. However, devil cultivators specialize in sneak attacks, so you still have to be on guard. Of these 2 bottles of pills, one is Sweet Rain Jade Dew Pill, which can quickly heal injuries. The other bottle is Soul Awakening Pill, which can recover spiritual sense in half the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. You have a lot of spiritual wine and a high alcohol tolerance, so I don't need to prepare pills for you to recover spiritual energy. With these things and the Windfire Flying Kite, as long as you don't provoke Aurus core stage cultivators, you won't be in any danger." Wang Daoyuan took these things and cupped his hands. "Thank you, Master." He kept the other things in his storage bag and took out the Purple Lightning Evil Punishing Token. He observed it carefully, trying to analyze the refining method. Lei Yen smiled. "Don't waste your energy. This thing requires at least a Tier 4 weapon refiner to refine. You're still far from it. When you become a Tier 4 weapon refiner, I'll naturally pass the refining method of the Purple Lightning Evil Punishing Token to you. For now, you should focus on cultivation." Wang Daoyuan stayed at the Treasure Cauldron Mountain for a few days before preparing to leave. Before leaving, he left Wang Daoyin 20 purple rhythm pills and 30 meridian shielding pills. He also left Wang Mingting some yellow bud millet and soul-chasing bee honey. That Bloodfire hibiscus was also unlucky. Wang Daoyuan chopped off a few old branches that were as thick as an adult's thigh. After that, Wang Daoyuan left the Treasure Cauldron Mountain and headed south. 2,000 miles south of the Treasure Cauldron Mountain was the border of the southern wasteland. Within 1,000 miles south of the border, the spiritual energy wasn't too violent. It was still within the acceptable range for ordinary cultivators. A slightly violent spirit qi was actually very beneficial to body refinement cultivators. Therefore, the border of the southern wasteland had become a gathering place for body refinement cultivators, forming many markets. Spiritual energy was more violent and could easily damage a cultivator's meridians. Therefore, the meridian shielding pill was extremely popular in these markets. Its price was close to the purple rhythm pill. Wang Daoyuan flew 2,000 miles south from the Treasure Cauldron Mountain and arrived at the Singing Sand Market. Further south of the Singing Sand Market was a large area where the Gobi Desert and grassland coexisted. It was called the Singing Sand Plains. Although the southern wasteland had the word wasteland in its name, it wasn't actually considered desolate. Although there were deserts and Gobi Desert, forests and lakes were not rare. Not the entire southern wasteland was like the Singing Sand Plains. Near the Singing Sand Plains, there was a large earth attribute spirit vein of the 4th level. This spirit vein stretched for thousands of miles. It was possible that it could nurture earth essence. Although the southern wasteland might not be as dangerous as the Heaven/Mountain Range, Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to run around casually. He did as he pleased in the Heaven/Mountain Range, which was built on the basis of familiarity. In addition, he had the soul-chasing bees to scout the way. He knew where he could go and where he couldn't. If he dared to continue running around like this in the southern wasteland, he probably wouldn't live for more than a few days. To be safe, he should stay in the Singing Sand Market for a period of time and figure out the situation of the Singing Sand Plains before exploring further. Chapter 439. This Mingsha market was formed spontaneously and wasn't organized, so the shops were very messy. Unlike other markets, only Violet Palace Realm and Foundation Establishment cultivators often walked outside the shops, and the weakest among them were late Foundation Establishment cultivators. The spiritual chi here was somewhat berserk, and those with low cultivation couldn't stay outside for long periods of time. Wang Daoyuan was dressed as a vagrant cultivator, but he didn't wear a veil or bamboo hat. In this sort of unregulated market, there were no rules, and it was very common to use spiritual sense to investigate others, so wearing a veil wasn't very meaningful. He disguised himself as a middle-aged man and swaggered into the market square. There were many late Violet Palace Realm cultivators here, and with his cultivation he wasn't very conspicuous. As such, he didn't conceal his cultivation and converted all of the spiritual power in his body into metal and fire attributes. There weren't many mid-Violet Palace Realm cultivators with penta-spiritual roots in the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian, and they were too conspicuous. Currently, he mainly used magic techniques of these two attributes against his enemies. As long as he exposed his metal and fire attributes, it wouldn't affect his battle prowess. Wang Daoyuan cultivated the penta-spirit immortal transformation art, which had the effect of tempering his body. His body wasn't weak, and the spiritual chi here couldn't cause him any harm. Instead, the greatest restriction he faced was information. After coming to this unfamiliar place, he originally wanted to find a broker to inquire about the situation, but he didn't find one. Those who could walk around outside were at least late Foundation Establishment cultivators. With such a cultivation, they could find a job wherever they went, so there was no need for them to work as a broker. There weren't any street stalls here, and all business was done in the shops. There were also formations in the shops that could warm spiritual power, so cultivators below late Foundation Establishment would find work in these shops. Without brokers and street stalls, the best way to gather information was to go to a tavern. He found a tavern called Clear River Tavern, sat down in a corner, and ordered a few common dishes and 2 jugs of wine. It was very difficult to grow spirit plants in Mingsha Plains, so the dishes he ordered were made from some demon beasts in the desert and a few spirit plants in the sand. The tavern's business was quite good, and there were over 30 tables in the main hall, with over 20 tables occupied. Wang Daoyuan ate and drank while listening to others talk. Not too long after they sat down, an early-stage seafood disciple walked in. This person was dressed in a black close-fitting robe made of beast skin. His muscles were bulging and his face was covered with a large beard. However, the animal skin robe on his body was torn in many places, and there were several long bloodstains on his exposed skin. Some were claw marks of demonic beasts, while others seemed to have been inflicted by sharp blades. The late-stage qi refinement cultivator serving the restaurant immediately came forward to greet him. "Senior, what would you like to eat?" The bearded cultivator heroically said, "Give me all the good dishes in your restaurant and 2 jars of wine." He had just found a table and sat down when a skinny early-stage Zifu disciple next to him asked, "Daoist, why are you so generous today? Looking at your injuries, you must have gone hunting in the desert again, right?" The cultivator surnamed Xiang slapped the table and let out a long sigh. "I've already gotten over it. Making a living here means that there's no tomorrow. What's the point of saving spirit stones? 2 days ago, I went to Bluestone Mountain to hunt with a few old friends. I accidentally bumped into fierce sand wolves hunting and lost 2 brothers. On the way back, they were blocked by the flying sand bandits. After a bloody battle, I was the only one who managed to escape. We're all old friends who have gone through fire and water with us for 100 or 200 years, and now they're all gone. We can be considered old acquaintances. I don't have many friends left, so come and have a drink with me." The skinny cultivator laughed and said, "All right, since Daoist wants to have a drink or 2, then I'll risk my life to accompany you. It's just that what's Daoyu going to do next?" The cultivator surnamed Xiang waved his hand. "Who cares about him? I'll live one day at a time. In the first place, I provoked someone I shouldn't have in the north. Now that I've run over here, I can't go back anymore. When my spirit stones run out, I'll go seek refuge with the wild sand wanderer. He has a grudge with the flying sand bandits, so maybe in the future he'll have a chance to exterminate the flying sand bandits." The 2 people chatted as they ate, and very quickly they were full. The other customers listened to the 2 people's conversation and were also discussing in low voices. Wang Daoyuan listened to the conversation between the 2 people and the other customers. He had a bit of understanding of the situation in Mingsha Plateau. It seems that there are already wild beasts here, and the fierce sand wolf is one of them. These guys live in the violent spiritual energy all year round. Their bodies are extremely tough, and their temperaments are savage. However, their intelligence isn't too high. And this wild sand wanderer isn't a simple character either. To be able to have the title of wanderer, there's no need to talk about his strength. At the very least, his battle prowess is at the peak of the late Zifu stage. The majority of cultivators with the title of wanderer are at the peak of the Zifu stage. Wang Daoyuan is currently able to defeat the majority of late Zifu stage cultivators if he tries his best. But among late Zifu stage cultivators, he can't be considered at the peak, so he can't get the title of wanderer. The flying sand bandits are one of the few groups of bandits that occupy Mingsha Plateau. Their methods are the most vicious. The wild sand wanderer isn't a good person either. He's gathered a group of cultivators under him, and they do business in Mingsha Plateau without any capital. They're called the Wild Sand Bandits. The Wild Sand Wanderer and the leader of the Flying Sand Bandits, the Flying Sand Wanderer, had a grudge when they were young. The 2 groups have always been at loggerheads. Both sides have over 10 Zifu stage cultivators, and over 100 late and peak foundation establishment stage cultivators. With this kind of strength, outside of the southern wasteland, they can be considered a considerable force. However, most of these people have offended people they can't afford to offend in the north, or they're wicked beyond redemption. Many people don't even dare to enter the Mingsha market, let alone go to the north of the southern wasteland. This Mingsha Plateau is really quite dangerous. Ferocious beasts don't matter. After killing so many demonic beasts, they don't care about ferocious beasts with low intelligence. Humans are even more frightening than ferocious beasts. If they're blocked by 2 groups of bandits, the trouble won't be small. The cultivators surnamed Xiang and the know-it-all walked out of the tavern one after the other. Wang Daoyuan also paid the bill and walked out. It's not easy to meet someone who's well-informed. How can he let go of such a good opportunity to inquire about information? After following the know-it-all and the cultivator surnamed Xiang, Wang Daoyuan used his divine sense to send a message. "Your nickname is the know-it-all. Do you want to sell information?" The know-it-all looked around, looking for the person who sent the message. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Don't look, it's me." The know-it-all saw that Daoyu's cultivation was above his, so he quickly cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Daoyu." It's not suitable to talk about business in public. Please come to my store for a chat. Wang Daoyuan nodded. Even if this person doesn't have good intentions, an early-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator can't do anything to him when he's on high alert. Soon, the two of them arrived in front of an ordinary store. The signboard hanging on the door had the words, "The Know-It-All," written on it. After entering the store, the Know-It-All closed the door and asked Wang Daoyuan to sit down. After the two of them sat down, the Know-It-All smiled and said, "I'm Yuan Chen. Because I'm good at inquiring about information, I got the nickname of the Know-It-All." After establishing the Violet Palace realm, I opened a store here that specializes in the business of buying and selling information. I wonder what information Daoyu is looking for. As long as it's related to Mingsha Plains, I know a thing or two. Wang Daoyuan replied, "This is my first time here. What information does Daoyu think I need?" Yuan Chen had been in the information business for many years, so he naturally knew what information different people were interested in. He immediately took out a beast's skin and a few jade slips and handed them to Wang Daoyuan. "Daoyuzhou, these are the maps of the terrain, ferocious beasts, and spiritual items that have been explored in Mingsha Plains. These jade slips record the areas of influence of the few bandit groups in Mingsha Plains, as well as the distribution of the various forces in Mingsha Market. Daoyu should be interested in this information, right?" Wang Daoyuan nodded. "This is indeed the information I want to know. Give me a price." Yuan Chen smiled and said, "This information can be obtained by staying in any tavern for 1 or 2 months. 300 spirit stones should be enough. I hope that Daoyu can visit my store more in the future." You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.